Good afternoon and welcome to Knox County Commission voting meeting for Monday, May 18th at 5 p.m. Seated, I don't see any elected officials in here. Seated to my right is Vice Chairwoman Kim Frazier and Deputy Law Director Mike Moyers, and seated to my left is Ms. Kim Ellis and Ms. Haley Evans, the Knox County Clerk's Office. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
We have 11 members present.
Thank you.
Everyone has
All
signed
right.
in.
And I will now turn it over to Commissioner Hill for the devotion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's a privilege every month when each of us has a few moments to be able to address the commission, and this is my little lesson for the day. It's called Napoleon and the Furrier. During Napoleon's invasion of Russia, his troops were battling in the middle of yet another small town when he was accidentally separated from his men. A group of Russian Cossacks spotted him and began chasing him through the twisting streets. Napoleon ran for his life and ducked into a little furrier shop on a side alley. As Napoleon entered the shop, gasping for breath, he saw the furrier and cried, "Save me, save me. Where can I hide?" The furrier said, quickly, go over here. There's a big pile of furs and I'll cover you up." No sooner had he finished than the Russian Cossacks burst through the door, shouting, "Where is he? We saw him come in here." Despite the furrier's protest, the Cossacks did not believe him. They proceeded to tear the shop apart, including taking their sharp swords and poking them through all of the piles of furs. But soon they left, they gave up. There was no evidence that Napoleon had been there. Sometime later, Napoleon crept out from under the furs, unharmed. Just about that time, Napoleon's personal guards came in the door. The furrier turned to Napoleon and asked so timidly, "Excuse me for asking this question of such a great man, but what is it really like to be under those furs, knowing that the next moment could possibly be your last?" Napoleon looked at the furrier, drew up indignantly, and said, "How could you ask such a question of me? I am Napoleon." "Guards, take this imprudent man out, blindfold him, and execute him. I will personally be the first one to have the sword enter his body." The guards grabbed the poor furrier, dragged him outside, stood him up against a wall, and blindfolded him. The furrier could see nothing, but he could hear the movements of the guards as they slowly shuffled into a line, prepared their swords and their rifles. And he could hear the soft, rustling sound of his clothes in the cold wind. He could suddenly feel the wind tugging against his clothes and chilling his cheeks, and the uncontrollable trembling of his legs. Then he heard Napoleon clear his throat and call out, "Ready, aim." In that moment, even in those few words, were the fear and a feeling that the furrier could not describe as it welled up in him and tears poured down his cheeks. After a long period of silence, the furrier heard footsteps approaching him, and the blindfold was stripped from his eyes. Still partially blinded by the sudden sunlight, he saw Napoleon's eyes looking deeply and intently into his own, eyes that seemed to see every dusty corner of his being. Then Napoleon said softly, "Now you know how it feels." The moral of this story: don't look back in anger or forward in fear, but look around you all the time in great awareness. If y'all would please bow your heads. Lord, I pray that as we read this, even though it's not your word, that we do hang on to this moral Lord, you can help us be aware of ourselves, be aware of our own surroundings. Be aware, Lord, that every decision that is made as we sit as commissioners can and will have effect not only today, but looking forward. Lord, I pray that you'll bless us, that you'll have your arms around us at all times, and that you'll help us be aware, Lord, of your presence daily. Amen.
Thank you. Now turn it over to Commissioner Lee for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If everyone would stand up, please, if you're able, for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's at the pleasure of the body. After we set the agenda, we'll entertain a motion on the education and general consent, government calendars, honorary resolutions, and presentations, and then the rest of the agenda. Amendments to the agenda, and there are quite a few. Additions, number 10, 20, 21, 33, 41, 42, and then R-26-5-103. One more time. 10, 20, 21, 33, 41, 42, and R-26-5-103. Items deferred to June, 24, 32 through 34, 40, and 43. Again, that's 24, 32 through 34, 40, and 43. Withdrawals, 25 and 26. And non-consent is 8, 9, 11, 18, 22, 23, 31, 33, 35 through 39. One more time. 8, 9, 11, 18, 22, 23, 31, 33, 35 through 39. Do I have a motion to approve? A motion by Commissioner Thompson, second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make a substitute motion to set the agenda as presented with removing item number 42.
Okay, I've got a substitute motion to remove item number 42. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I've got a second by Commissioner Hill. All right.
Is this a substitute motion to remove?
Yes.
Item number 42?
Yes. Right. All right, we've got a substitute motion on the floor with a second. Voting is open.
Who's the second?
The second was Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't catch the part about 42. Is that,
It's a substitute motion to remove it.
okay, there's a substitute motion to remove that from, I'm challenging, I object to that because I don't think the body has the ability to take away, under the commission rules, something that is to be added as a discussion item. And so I defer to Mr. Moyers. I can pull up the rule if need be, but I object to that motion.
Director Moyers, and I have the rules. Proclamations or individual declarations of commissioners on topics of importance to individual commissioners and do not necessarily express the views of the commission as a whole. Proclamations are not brought before the commission body publicly unless added to the agenda as an announcement during the other business and do not require a vote of the commission. So Director Moyers.
All right, well, where we are is adopting the agenda. And what Robert's rule says on this is that when the adoption of a proposed agenda is pending, it is subject to amendment by a majority vote. And that's where we are.
Okay.
So it is possible to make a motion and a second and a majority vote.
All right, thank you.
And amend the motion, the agenda that's pending. So,
Commissioner Hill, do you have,
Are we going to?
we're going to vote, but I didn't know if you had a question.
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment
Oh,
on my second to that. I recognize that this was something that was passed in Governor Lee's office. I don't take exception to the theory of the nuclear family. In a perfect world, that would absolutely be probably what most people would choose. If you all have not read this, please, I encourage you to pull it up and read it. It gives a definition of the family. Some families don't quite look like this definition. I don't care what, where you're from or who you are. Not all families plug into this definition perfectly. My own family being one of them. And I will tell you that we were still very much a family. The facts that are stated about fatherless homes, like we don't understand that certainly not having both parents in the home is not ideal, but I feel like this whole thing just emphasizes sometimes the choices that are made that are outside of perhaps a traditional mother or a father. Many don't have the choice that they are raising children alone, that father or mother have disappeared. I mean, this is choices that were made for them. And, if you don't already feel enough guilt and carry enough baggage around with that in and of itself, then to have this sweeping resolution speaking to honoring a nuclear family, it can be a little bit off-putting at the very least, and very guilt-producing at the most. I do take exception to one commissioner stating that he is expressing the values of his entire district, when in fact, you can't really know the values. None of us can know the values of our entire district. None of us can know, in fact, the values of the maybe 18% of people that actually took the time to vote. But to imply that because this is the way you feel, and this is what you think, that this is the feelings of every single person in your district, I think is a bit of an overreach. And in the end, that the nuclear family is under attack. I would really like to know if anyone in Knox County could stand up and say, yes, my traditional family of husband and wife are under attack. If they are under attack, it is from forces within themselves or their marriage or their immediate circumstance. It is not because the county of Knoxville, that the state of Tennessee or our country are attacking these families. So I say that all with great respect. I just feel like that this does not do any favors to the constituents of Knox County that are just doing the best they can to have family and to raise it, whatever that looks like to them. So, thank you.
It's a deferral, 32 to 34. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, Commissioner Hill, you were, of course, involved in you were with the school system for quite some time. Is that right? Okay. And, my wife, she actually got perfect attendance when she was in school all 13 or 14 years. And I think you recognize that there is usually in most schools an award for people who have perfect attendance. Now, that's the ideal. Everybody should shoot for perfect attendance. Not everybody can do it for various reasons. Some people, it's, their physical health prevents them from that, but yet there is still an award for perfect attendance because that's the ideal. And that's what this is. This is recognizing the ideal that people should strive for this. And it's not putting down other forms of family that that for whatever reason, for whatever circumstances, they cannot meet that ideal. But that ideal should be commended, and it should be, we should strive after that. And that's what this is about. This is giving praise to the ideal. So that's the basis upon which I bring this. I think that's the basis upon which Governor Lee issued this resolution to begin with. And so I would ask everyone to deny this motion, and let's have the agenda as amended and announced by Chair Oster. Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson? Oh, I'm sorry.
You're comparing this resolution, the nuclear family, to a certificate of attendance.
I'm saying that they both represent ideals, and we should strive for the ideal. Yes.
Fair enough.
Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is just a point of order, just to get clarification on the definition of a proclamation. So the proclamation is done by a commissioner or commissioners. It does not have to be voted upon by commission, correct? So why do we even have it on the agenda? It should just, I think both of these agenda items for proclamations need to be removed, just because anybody can sign on to it if they choose. It's not something we have to approve. Just a question.
Is that a motion? Do you want to? We've got the substitute on the
question.
floor right now. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This isn't about the proclamation or its content or anything like that. Back of this, we had, just for consistency, because we had a resolution come before us before that was contentious upon the body, and it wasn't unanimous, and a commissioner was encouraged to bring that up as a proclamation and not force us to vote on it, and have that done here as a proclamation. And obviously that went to a resolution and whatever, but I feel like this would be a similar thing where had it been brought up as a resolution, we would have asked for it to be a proclamation, not a resolution. Now it has been brought as a proclamation. Should it not simply proceed as a proclamation, because that's what we've stated in the past, whether you agree with it or not? Should it not just be seen as a proclamation, added to the agenda in other business, as we've stated these type things should be, and move on with it? That's maybe that's put too simply, but just in consistency, because things have been brought up as a resolution before that were not unanimous, like most honorary resolutions should be, and they were encouraged to have it as a proclamation. It wasn't, whatever, but these have been brought as a proclamation.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. For nearly at least 15 years, if not much longer, proclamations have always been personal statements by the commissioner or mayor that they take to the community. They go out, they do something at a ceremony, they do something at an event. It's not placed on the agenda. Now, in our rules, it says it can be placed on the agenda, but these are proclamations are meant to be personal statements that they go and they're at an event and they proclaim it to be Shane Jackson Day in honor of his great achievement, or a certain week. And so That's always been the tradition. That's always what mayors and commissioners have done. And I made the amendment to simply say that we have a choice to not hear it at this, to hear that one at this meeting. The agenda for Robert's Rules is the agenda of the body, and the body has a choice to hear all of it, none of it, or some part of it. That's my substitute motion, and I'd like to proceed.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Chair Oster. We, as a body, Commissioner Fox was asked to do this as a proclamation. We asked him not to do any more honorary resolutions, and we asked him to do them as proclamations or presentations. Whether you agree with what he is going to say or not should not be the question here. The question should be, is this America, and do we allow freedom of speech? Whether you agree with the other person's speech or not, when we start silencing each other, we're going to get nowhere. So I will be voting against removing it.
All right, we have a substitute motion on the floor and a second. Open voting, please. To support the substitute motion. You may change your vote. Voting is closed. And that motion passed 6-4 and 1 abstained. Abstained was Commissioner Frazier. Noes were Lee, Thompson, Fox, and Russell. All right, now we're on to the education, right? Or do we need to go back and? Okay, all right. We're now on to the education consent calendar. Do I have a motion? Oh, okay, hold on one sec. We're just having a little technical.
We're good on that. Ready to go.
Okay. I've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Rawls and a second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Seeing none, open voting, please. You may change your vote. Voting is closed, and that passed 11-0. All right. Next item, please.
Madam Chair, point of order on this next item, number 11, I think was pulled off of consent. Okay, they're doing it in real time. Never
Yeah,
mind.
they're working.
I'm ready.
Okay, next item, please.
We need a motion and a second on that.
Motion second on the what? Oh, all right, we've got Commissioner Durant, and do I have a second on the general? I've got a second by Commissioner Thompson. Discussion, Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm confused because I thought the previous motion, the substitute motion, was to adopt the agenda as originally published, with the exception of number 42. And so my understanding was that 8, 9, 11, 18,
My substitute motion was to adopt the agenda as presented, with the exception. So it was presented as Madam Chair outlined, the additions, deferrals, non-consents, withdrawals.
okay. So in other words, 8, 9, 11, 18
Everything that's on non-consent.
have been removed. Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Durant and second by Commissioner Thompson. Open voting, please. You may change your vote. And voting is closed. And that passed 10 yeses, 1 abstention is Russell. All right, next item, please.
What do you want to move to next? Since we pulled those off of consent, you want to go ahead and go to honorary and add those with the regulars?
Yeah, I think so. Because I've got one of the honorary needs to leave, so I'd rather get those done. Yeah. We're going to move to honorary because we've got one that needs to leave here in a few minutes for a meeting, so I'd like to get them up there.
Okay. Resolution R-26-5-101 is honoring the life and legacy of Matt Hinkin.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion made by Commissioner Thompson, second by Commissioner Frazier. Any discussion? Seeing none, voting is open. You may change your vote. Voting is closed. That passed 11-0. The floor is yours, Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you're like me and grew up in Knoxville, Matt Hinkin was certainly no stranger when bad weather hit and there was a storm, and I always found myself in the basement when there was a tornado watch, and I found myself in the basement with the radio, and they were watching television upstairs. But we certainly lost a real jewel in Knoxville when Matt Hinkin passed away. And I reached out and asked if we could do this resolution to help honor him as we have several others. And I'd just like to do this, and I appreciate the body approving this. So this is the resolution of the Commission of Knox County honoring the life and legacy of Matt Hinkin. Whereas the Knox County Commission recognizes and honors individuals whose lives have profoundly impacted our community through service, compassion, and excellence. And whereas Matt Hinkin, a beloved WATE meteorologist, is one such individual who passed away on March 16th, 2026, leaving behind a legacy of service, resilience, and dedication to East Tennessee. And whereas Mr. Hinkin got his start at WATE in 1990, and his enthusiasm and passion for the weather and helping others continued until his retirement in August of 21. And whereas during his years at WATE, the popular meteorologist flew into the eye of a hurricane, covered the blizzard of '93, took viewers along on camping trips, went to Africa with co-host Tim Adams for New at the Zoo, and visited countless classrooms to share the science behind the weather. And whereas Mr. Hinkin also enjoyed bringing his weather forecast to viewers' backyards and was known for wrapping up his segment by jumping in their swimming pools. And whereas Matt Hinkin was active in the Knoxville community and was a longtime MC of the Emerald Youth Foundation Breakfast, and also served on the golf board to help raise money to minister to 12,000 to 15,000 children in the inner city of Knoxville on a daily basis. Whereas Mr. Hinkin was a man of strong faith who went through several hardships in his life, his diagnosis with Parkinson's disease, and the loss of his wife, Deborah, in a car crash in 2020. Despite his declining health, Matt kept advocating for people with Parkinson's through PJ Parkinson's, and he never complained about what he was going through to his coworkers and friends. Whereas Mr. Hinkin is survived by his son Joshua, his mother Mabel, brother Douglas P. Hinkin, spouse Maureen, and children Sarah, Christopher, Caitlin, Abby, sister Beth Ann Cartner, spouse Bruce, and sons Adam, Chad, and Sean, brother Lawrence W. Hinkin, children Daniel and Kristen, and Barbara Setter, spouse Ralph, and sons Sam and Peter. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Commission of Knox County as follows. The Commission of Knox County, Tennessee hereby honors the life and legacy of Matt Hinkin, expresses their deepest condolences to his family, and celebrates the indelible mark he left on Knoxville, East Tennessee, in the field of meteorology. Be it further resolved that this resolution be presented to the family of Matt Hinkin, Be it further resolved that this resolution is to take effect from and after its passage as provided by the Charter of Knox County, Tennessee, the public welfare requiring it.
Commissioner Thompson, thank you very much. Madam Chair, members of this commission, I'm Don Dare from WATE TV, a colleague of Matt. Matt would be very humbled to hear this and to receive this. He was a humble man. He was a scientist. He loved Knoxville. He was a great father, a great husband, and a family man. As many of you know, Matt suffered a long time. Those of us who were in the studio with him watched out for him. We knew that he was pretty bad, and we helped him as much as we could, and we miss him dearly. Joshua, his son, would like me to read this, if you don't mind, Madam Chair. I greatly appreciate you all taking the time to honor and recognize my dad's life and the impact he had on our local community. I'm grateful for all the memories and experiences that have been shared with me by community members, his friends and viewers, and wish that I could have been there with you today. Thank you again for your support in keeping my father's legacy alive. Several of us visited Matt at the hospice, and I remember Matt saying to me, "Don't worry about me, Don. I'm a believer in John 3:16. I know where I'm going to go when my time comes to be with Jesus." And I'd like to introduce Kim, who was his caregiver. Kim?
Hello. What I would like to do is read a speech that came from Matt's family. It says, "Commissioners and citizens of Knoxville, Tennessee, sadly, we cannot join you this evening, but please know that we are very humbled and grateful at your recognition of Brother Matt. Matt fell in love with East Tennessee 30 years ago, and we lost him to your fine community. He loved the people, the scenery, and the weather in the Smoky Mountains regions. As you well know, he totally integrated himself into the area and the people. He was also a humble guy. He never talked about all the things he did for and with the people of East Tennessee. So we were totally blown away by the stories and the interactions he had with everyone and all the things, great things people had to say about him. All of the love and outpouring of support and appreciations that flooded us as we kept watch with Matt during his final weeks and months at his funeral celebration brought so much joy. We remain indebted to the people of faith, the caregivers, the hospice staff, the doctors and nurses that cared for him. We are encouraged and thankful for all the nonprofit world that he touched in so many ways. Thank you all. Finally, know that his many, many friends, and I do mean many, friends who walked with him during his illness, you all touched our hearts deeply, and thank you all. I got this, I'm reciting this from his mother, Mabel Hinkin, his sister, Beth Cartner, his sister, Barbara Setter, and his brothers, Doug and Larry Hinkins, and myself, Kim. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is Resolution R-26-5-102. It's honoring the 50th anniversary of Knoxville Community Media.
We have a motion on the floor by Gina Oster, second by Commissioner Hill. All those in favor, please vote. Motion passes.
Thank
Chair
you.
Oster.
Thank you. We are here tonight to celebrate Community TV and their 50th anniversary. I think that we can all safely say that they do a great job keeping all of us educated on meetings and events that's happening around Knox County, so we thank you for all of that. Whereas Knoxville Community Media is an independently chartered 501c3 organization created in 1975 to serve the community of Knoxville and Knox County by providing the public, educational, and government access through television and other media outlets. Whereas the existence of Knoxville Community Media encourages civic engagement and participation through its coverage and archiving of gavel-to-gavel government meetings, and whereas Knoxville Community Media assists educational entities, organizations, community groups, and nonprofit organizations in sharing their mission with the community, and whereas the Knoxville Community Media offers life skills, training, and equipment that enable the citizens of Knoxville and Knox County to share their beliefs, dreams, and values through a media platform for free speech. And whereas the Knoxville Community Media was a vital resource during COVID-19 pandemic and has continued to offer all the aforementioned services at little or no cost to the community, even in the face of revenue loss. And whereas Knoxville Community Media remains a true beacon of unfiltered free thought, free expression, and free speech, providing a modern form of the public town square in a media age in which many media outlets do not allow unfiltered free thought, free expression, or free speech. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Commission of Knox County as follows. The Commission of Knox County hereby honor the Knoxville Community Media upon the occasion of its 50th anniversary and service to our community, and wishes the organization continued success in providing public, educational, and government access through the television and other media outlets, fostering community connection and local storytelling, and ensuring government transparency. Be it further resolved that the resolution is to take effect from and after its passage as provided by the Charter of Knox County, Tennessee, and the public welfare requiring it.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. I appreciate everybody who served on the board. There's a lot of faces up here who've served on the board. I appreciate the hard work that all of you do week after week after week. I've been involved with this organization since I was 17, so I've been in that booth a lot, and I know how hard it can be for you, so I appreciate it. June 5th and 6th, we're having a 50th anniversary celebration at the Pilot Light and at the Point Church on 5th Avenue. It's going to be storytelling, music, puppet shows, all sorts of things, and it's free to the community, so I hope you all can come out. Thank you so much for this, and I hope we can continue to serve for another 50 years. Thanks. Thank you.
Would you like a picture?
Sure, yeah.
Commissioners, if you'll come down, please.
As soon as I hit okay, yeah, it'll show.
The next item is Resolution R-26-5-103. It's honoring the West High School men's lacrosse team for winning the 2026 TSSAA Class A State Championship.
Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Jackson, second by Commissioner Jay. Any discussion? Seeing none, open voting, please. Close voting, and the motion passes. Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commission, thank you very much for all voting for this, and thank you for allowing me to put this on at the last minute. I was working on this over the weekend as West High School won the state lacrosse championship over the weekend. And congratulations to West High School. It's actually only the second lacrosse state championship in the history of the state of Tennessee, as it's fairly a new sport. So we look forward to future championships, and I'll be sending out an email to everybody and letting them know when the actual resolution will be provided to them.
Good.
When they determine when their celebration will be. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next item. And we've
The
got,
next item is public forum,
all right,
agenda items only.
all right. We can do 3 minutes. Okay. All right, the first person to sign up was Chris Treadwell. Mr. Treadwell, if you will state your name and county of residence, and you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. Chris Treadwell, Knox County. This is about the data centers. Just north of Nashville are several 50 to 300 megawatt data centers owned by companies like Facebook and Google. These data centers combined consume more energy than the city of Knoxville. In Memphis, Elon Musk's XAI Colossus data center is 300 megawatts and looking to expand to over 1,000 megawatts, potentially making it the third largest data center in the country and consuming as much energy as Knox County. Going from using 3 million gallons of water per day to 14 million gallons of water per day. If you think that's bad, one 300 megawatt Google data center in Iowa consumed about 1 billion gallons of water in just 2024. These parasitical behemoths not only drastically increase energy and water utility costs for people living around them, but they cause bodily harm too. One overlooked impact is a constant loud hum, inaudible frequencies produced by these facilities. This causes migraines, tinnitus, loss of sleep, chronic stress, and hearing loss, to name just a few disorders. It's critical we pass this ordinance to protect Knox County, preserve our living standards, and keep utilities affordable. You may think these mega data centers may never come to Knoxville, but you're already wrong. We have an 86 megawatt cryptocurrency mining data center in Asbury in eastern Knox County right now already being operated by Carpenter Creek LLC, aka BitDeer. Headquartered in Singapore, it uses 10% of KUB's electricity. One facility in our county uses 10% of the electricity. It's the largest consumer of electricity in our county by far. It uses the same amount of energy as 1/3 of all homes in our county. Imagine that, 1/3 of all the homes. And Chinese billionaire owner Yang Wu wants to expand this operation to 121 megawatts for AI-intensive processing, consuming the same amount of energy as half the houses in this county, half the houses, one facility. The vast majority of people do not want data centers in their neighborhood. It has been a lack of regulation and corrupt politicians that allow them to be built. This is a bipartisan issue. As you saw, we have Indivisible outside, and it's being proposed by a conservative Republican. There's growing pushback against these data centers. There's over 150 organizations pushing back, and they've stopped $64 billion worth of centers and projects in this country. And even the Augusta Township in Michigan has recently submitted a petition to recall some of their elected officials solely on approving a 100-megawatt data center in their town. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Yulia. I will let you say your name so I do not tear it up. If you'll give your name and county of residence, please. You've got 3 minutes.
That's all right. I figured by the first name. Commissioners, I am here as a resident of Knox County to urge you to adopt the resolution placing limitations on water and energy use by large data centers. Data center capacity is growing exponentially around the country to support increasing AI usage despite continuing problems with the technology. A false AI Face ID, for example, recently sent an innocent Tennessee grandmother to a North Dakota jail for 5 months. Chatbots have encouraged users to harm themselves or other people. A Swedish study showed large language models, or LLMs, diagnosing people with a fake disease based on a joke paper which confessed to being a joke in the text. As generative AI currently stands, it is not worth risking the environmental strain on the county. First, Knox County has been experiencing rolling blackouts for years. Allowing large data centers to use the public grid will put even more pressure on a struggling power supply. Second, though there have been some improvements in electricity usage by data centers over time, water usage remains a larger concern. Powerful data centers require water to cool their supercomputers and keep them going. Some of that water will evaporate inside that process, meaning that we lose it forever. Even a medium-sized data center using 10 megawatts can use up to 110 million gallons of water a year for cooling alone, and even more for off-site operations that keep Bitcoin and AI turning. According to the World Economic Forum, that's the equivalent of all water use by 363,000 American families. To compare, the XAI data center in Memphis needed to start with 15 times that capacity. Can we really afford to use up that much water on Bitcoin-generated pictures and ChatGPT answers that often turn out to be false? Tennessee is in a drought. We need to allocate our finite resources in a sustainable way, or we risk making this place unlivable for its residents. I do understand that data centers play an important role in bringing us general internet access, data storage, and computation in education, science, and healthcare. Is 10 megawatts a reasonable floor for limiting a data center's use of public electricity and water sources? I honestly don't know. But I do ask that the County and Planning Commission use this resolution as a starting point to come up with a plan that would allow us to keep the digital services we need for daily life in the modern age, while protecting our limited water and electricity supply from frivolous AI usage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Carol Rose. Ms. Rose, if you'll give your name and county of residence, you've got 3 minutes.
My name is Carol Rose, Knox County resident. Residents across the nation are pushing back against plans to build AI data centers in and near communities. With cost of living from housing, groceries to gas rising, constituents cannot help but wonder what additional costs they will be saddled with should their local governments grant permission to build. The standard definition of a hyperscale data center is that it is more than 10,000 square feet with more than 5,000 servers. These massive facilities must be fueled by massive expansion in energy and water demand. Knox County needs a proper understanding of these requirements before passing an ordinance that will affect the community, environment, and quality of life of Knox County residents. In addition to these considerations, communities are often enticed with the promise of taxes from AI data center companies. This is often not what the community expects, as the AI companies receive benefits in the form of tax breaks, reduced regulations, or special zoning permissions in exchange for job creation. Once the data center is up and running, it requires few people, often 20 to 50 staff members. While I understand we may not be able to ban AI data centers, we can enforce strict standards on those that might want to use our community. Knox County Commission owes it to all residents to make sure that a strong ordinance is passed instead of the proposed ordinance. You owe it to us to gather input from all stakeholders, study how other counties are managing the issue, conducting environmental studies, conducting an economic feasibility study, and to develop a well-informed ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Mary Jane Morris. Ms. Morris, if you'll give your name and county of residence, you've got 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Mary Jane Morris, and I'm a Knox County resident. I'm here tonight to speak in opposition of the proclamation for Nuclear Family Month. I moved to Knoxville in my 20s after college. I fell in love with the natural beauty, free of data centers, lure of a packed Neyland Stadium on game day, the duck confit fries at Stock and Barrel, but most of all, the kindness and welcoming Southern hospitality of Knoxville. It's here in Knoxville that I grew professionally into my career, established an amazing village of friends, but most importantly, became a parent to a bright, compassionate daughter who is now in elementary school. Like many of my friends, colleagues, extended family members, there are so many family makeups that do not mirror the nuclear family ideal. Whether it be single-parent homes, grandparents raising their grandchildren, same-sex parents, or those who have tragically become widows or widowers, this proclamation brings a marginalization to the local level and projects to the Knoxville residents that although incredibly common, you are not meeting the ideal standard. This isn't the message I want my child indoctrinated with. In the proclamation, there are 8 statistics included with only 1 citation. Why is it acceptable that an official government document being signed off on by a committee can have statistics included, not appropriately cited? The only cited reference identifies close to 60 school shooters and various characteristics of a broken home. Eliminating the 10 shooters with a, quote, marriage intact, the remaining 50 or so had 80 occurrences of a common theme. Father beat and abused them. Father was an alcoholic. Father threatened to kill mother. This seems to be more like a crisis with men being bad, violent fathers, not broken families who don't fit the nuclear family mold. I realize sharing my stance is not likely to stop this proclamation from passing or on the state level, but I encourage you to question the statistics with no sources, and if the divisive language is what you want representing our city. Please know in June, Pride, which is an internationally recognized holiday, will continue to be celebrated in our local communities. There will be we will join a loving community where all are welcome. The idea of a nuclear family marginalizes so many, and I hope that I have shown that this proclamation is superfluous. Having this local proclamation on top of the already in place state declaration is only doubling down on this messaging, which is the foundation of Christian nationalism and a stepping stone to white supremacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Matthew Nance. Mr. Nance, if you'll give your name and county of residence, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Matt Nance, Knox County. This weekend, I had one of those Knoxville moments that reminded me why I love this city. Our daughter was performing at the Love of Reading Festival with Knoxville's Children's Theater. The World's Fair lawn was full of life. Families were everywhere. Families of every size, color, and background. People who do not vote, worship, or live the same way were sharing space and peace on a beautiful East Tennessee Saturday. That is our Knoxville, a city where children are celebrated, where neighbors of different colors, religions, orientations, and backgrounds can share a public square without fear. And then I come into this room and my heart aches because some of you seem persistently committed to turning our beautiful, complicated, generous Knoxville into something smaller, meaner, and more suspicious. The now canceled Nuclear Family Month proclamation, ironically sponsored by a divorce attorney, is another episode of the same pattern. 1 month, Muslim Knoxvillians are a threat. Another month, immigrants.
This month, single parents and LGBT neighbors are told their families are a public liability. Again and again, the message is clear. Some Knoxvillians are good and some are suspect. Some belong and some should be watched. Some families deserve honor, and some children should be told that their family is the wrong kind. So I want to ask, when will you tire of this? When will you tire of dividing us? When will you tire of using this publicly funded chamber as a culture war weapon? When will you tire of turning neighbor against neighbor while pretending you are defending values? And I say this as a heterosexual Christian husband and father. I believe family matters. I believe children need love, stability, sacrifice, and adults who show up when it costs them something. But Knoxville is full of real families who do not look like mine and who do not fit into this narrow proclamation. Instead of wagging your fingers in the faces of families that don't look like you, you should be saying that if your spouse was killed in the line of duty and you are raising children alone, you have something to teach us about the courage of a family. If you are a grandparent raising children, you are not a second-class family. You have something to teach us about the sacrifice of a family. If you are a single mother working 2 jobs and still showing up every day, you are not a social problem. You have something to teach us about the endurance of a family. If you are a father trying to hold your children together after a divorce or a death, you have something to teach us about the faithfulness of a family. If you are a single foster parent sitting beside a terrified emergency placement in the middle of the night, you have something to teach us about the mercy of a family. If you are the gay adoptive parents who chose to love a child who needed a home, you are not a threat to my county. You have something to teach us about the belonging of a family. Real families are not built by proclamations. They are built by people who stay, sacrifice, and love each other through exhaustion and fear and grief and uncertainty. People who scratch out loving homes in the ruins of something that they never would have chosen. You don't have to agree with every family structure to govern and serve every family fairly. If you want to honor families, then do the work and make this country livable for the actual families who live here and not just the ones who look good on your campaign mailers.
Mr. Nance, I'm sorry. You've
Thank
gone
you.
over. Thank you. The next speaker is Jenna Tanner. Jenna Tanner is the next speaker. Okay. Andrew Huber. And Becky Hofseth. Ms. Hofseth, if you'll give your name and county of residence, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Becky Hofseth. I'm from Knox County. It has been a great month. This last week, we gathered with our children and grandchildren celebrating the inception of our nuclear family 50 years ago. Hiking together in the Smokies, wrangling kids of all ages at Dollywood, and some crazy rounds of intergenerational gaga ball with our own flesh and blood. It was amazing, and we are thanking the Lord. And just 2 weeks before, we celebrated the resounding victory of our local Knox County conservative candidates who won their primary races, accomplished thanks to a lot of hard work, earnest prayer, and local conservatives stepping up to make their will known. Even with an illegal attempt by a sitting commissioner to compromise the outcome, they prevailed. I was there for it, and I am thanking the Lord. And now we have 4 commissioners who understand the significance of and want to acknowledge the groundbreaking resolution of Tennessee legislators who had the gumption to stand up and declare June as Nuclear Family Month, easily passing the House, take note, by a 70-18 vote in the House, and the Senate 26-4. Our duly elected representatives provided the much-needed direct counter to Pride Month, which was essentially a push to redefine and erode the traditional nuclear family. Just think, our great state of Tennessee was among the first states to ban gender procedures on children, prohibit schools from hiding children's gender transitions from their parents, and crack down on drag queen performances where children are present. Tennessee's nuclear family resolution sends yet another loud and clear message that we are indeed a conservative state filled with God-fearing citizens who acknowledge that we have given up too much ground. So the great refocus begins. We will celebrate God's design instead of man's debauchery. We will gladly and determinedly celebrate God's wisdom and kindness in establishing nuclear families for our good and long-term flourishing. I'm here for it, and I thank the Lord. God bless each of you and your families. And God bless our county as we refocus our attention to His will and design.
I want to call two more names, Jenna Tanner and Andrew Huber. All right, that is all for public forum agenda items. Madam Clerk, next item, please.
The next item is approval of minutes of the previous meeting.
I have a motion. Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Thompson, second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? We're stuck. Oh, we're stuck, okay. All right. Voting is open. Let's see, so we've got approval of minutes by Commissioner Jay, second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Seeing none, open voting, please. You may change your vote. Voting is closed, and that passed 10-0. Next item, please.
The next item is notary public applications. We have 125.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Durrett, second by Commissioner Jay. Any discussion? Seeing none, open voting. You may change your vote. Voting is closed, and that passed 10-0. Next item.
Item number 27, spread of record, the order of the Knox County Mayor reappointing John Grease to the First Utility District Board of Commissioners. Item number 28 is a spread of record, the grant application to the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Trust Fund for Opioid Abatement Council Community Grants, Cycle 3 funding for organizations located in Tennessee to implement opioid abatement remediation strategies for Tennesseans, submitted by the Knox County Health Department. Item 29 is a spread of record, the grant application to the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council, OAC, for funding submitted by Knox County Grants and Community Development. Item number 30 is spread of record, the grants application to Lowe's Corporate for funding submitted by the Knox County Grants and Community Development. Okay, so now we're on the general government resolutions that are on non-consent. The first item is Resolution 111. It was pulled from the consent agenda, and it is a resolution confirming the Knox County Mayor's nominations of John Huber, Nancy Barger, and Richard Levinson for reappointment, and Sarah Harris for appointment to the Knox County Planning Commission. Terms expire June 30th, 2030.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Jay, second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussion? Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to make sure I understood, when does the current term expire for these particular nominations to appointment?
It expires on June 30th, 2030.
Okay, I mean, Is it expiring June, unless they're reappointed, would it expire June 30, 2026?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Moyers, if I may ask you, what would be the effect of denying this particular resolution? They would just hold over until, as a holdover appointment until after the election? I mean, just to be very transparent, I think that whoever turns out to be the new mayor ought to be the one appointing people sitting on the planning commission for another 4 years. And so I'm just trying to make sure I understand what's going on here.
That's interesting. I'm not familiar with the Planning Commission's rules on that because I don't represent them and I never have. In some instances, you would just have empty seats. In other instances, you could have holdovers. I think we'd have to look at their bylaws and their rules regarding how that works. I really don't know what the answer to that question is.
In that case, I would offer a substitute motion that we defer this until the June meeting so that we can fully understand what would be happening in the event that we simply decline to confirm a reappointment, particularly because, I think it treads upon the purview, the prerogative is the right word, for whoever's going to be the new mayor. So for that reason, I make a substitute motion.
Got a substitute motion on the floor with a second by Commissioner Lee. Any discussion? Oh, to defer.
Is that right?
30 days?
Till June meeting. Till the June meeting.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would encourage my fellow commissioners to deny the deferral and just proceed with this. Our current mayor and our current county commission will be in office until August 31st. There are 15 members of the Knox County Planning Commission, and every single month between now and then, there will be appointments, reappointments. There will be appointments from this board. By way of that thinking, all county business that has anything to do with appointing anyone or approving anything would halt until September with a new commission and a new mayor. And it's just not how we operate, and it's not how we've ever operated. We have people that are filling out terms, and we have appointments, we have amendments, we have people that are going on different boards, we have different budgetary items, and we should proceed all the way through our term and then let the next commission and the next mayor work on theirs. There's almost no board, including the Planning Commission, that has 100% of people that roll off all at once. And so the idea is that there's a constant rollover every single year, multiple times. So I would encourage you to deny the substitute motion, approve the motion, and continue on with the county's business.
Thank you. Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you. Point of clarification. Are we deferring for 30 days or until September?
Until, just 30 days until June, so that Mr. Moyers can inform us what would happen if we were to decline to approve this particular resolution.
Gotcha. I agree with both of you. I agree that, I think, allowing Mr. Moyer some time, I think, is prudent. But to Commissioner Jay's point, I mean, we can't just stop county government waiting for the new mayor to come in, because we've got 90 days worth of business. There's going to be a lot of other things for her to be, or him to be working on, at that date. So, I mean, I'm fine with a 30-day deferral, I think, but, I don't think I would be for deferring this until September.
Mr. Vandevate, would you like to add?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dwight Vandevate.
Mayor Jacobs' office. We object in the strongest possible terms. Glenn Jacobs is the duly elected second-term mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. He intends to govern until August 31st, 2026. We have presented you a slate of qualified nominees. We'd ask you to vote them up or vote them down.
Thank you.
Also, there are some downstream complications I won't get into today. There are state-mandated trainings that are involved. We have to send these nominees on to the state for their approval. From a process standpoint, this isn't constructive. And again, Glenn Jacobs is the duly elected mayor of Knox County, Tennessee until August 31st, 2026, and he intends to govern until the last day.
Thank you. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did want to note that the terms do not expire until June the 30th of 2026. So by postponing this until our June meeting, we're still going to have this resolved well before the deadline. And just actually to give possibly the mayor a chance to speak with the potential elected mayors, and to have the law director do some investigation. I'm going to vote for postponing this.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would tend to agree with Mr. Van Vate that we either vote them up or vote them down. My question is, it was pulled off consent. Other than, was there any motivation beyond a future change in leadership? Were there any specific issues that you had with the individual candidates themselves, or was it because there was a future mayoral change?
Thank you, Commissioner. Madam Chair, I'm going to respond to Commissioner Thompson, if I may. There may be exception taken to the individual proposed commissioners, but this is the biggest objection, and you know, this really belies the statement made by Mr. Van de Vate. He says, well, Glenn Jacobs is going to keep being the mayor till August 31st. Okay, well, he's not going to keep being mayor until June 30 of 2030, which is 4 years from now, which takes all of the appointment discretion away from the future mayor. I mean, does Mr. Jacobs think, or does Mayor Jacobs think he ought to be able to have his fingerprint on the planning commission for the next 4 years, for basically the entire term of whoever's going to be mayor? That to me doesn't seem appropriate. It'd be one thing if this was to last until August 31, 2026, or you know, even past that, but for all 4 years, I think that, I don't think that respects the future mayor and whatever priorities may be brought in by a future mayor. So that's why I want to find out why, you know, what happens if we just simply decline to renew this appointment, and you know, it may be appropriate to do so. 4 years is too much.
Commissioner Rawls?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to state before I say something, I actually pushed my button before everyone spoke.
I'm sorry.
Okay, all right.
I wasn't trying to not see you.
Okay, all right. I was gonna ask Mr. Van de Vate to come up, but originally, so you captured what I wanted to say. And as we know, all of our boards, they're breathing entities. So we'll have 5 people roll, we'll have 3 people roll. I think this just allows us to do business. And as we have the UDO coming up, et cetera, this is us doing business, and this has nothing to do with holding seats hostage. It's just us doing business. And so the mayor has the right to appoint who he wants to appoint. We can't stop that. So, I mean.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd also just point out, we simply just proposed to this body for approval a budget for a year. We didn't
propose a continuation budget through the end of the term. We propose a budget that's 12 years. Likewise, that will bind the subsequent administration, whoever that may be. We may at some point come to this body to issue general obligation bonds. We're binding for 20 years. That is in the nature of the process that we observe. So again, we have a slate of nominees. We'd ask you to vote them up or vote them down. But again, the mayor is duly elected, intends to govern to the last day.
Commissioner Durant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Mr. Vandevate. They're in front of us. We need to vote them up or down. This is how government operates. We have to do this to continue operations. But I mean, if we want to get into appointments by an executive, I mean, think about the president. The president appoints Supreme Court justices for life. The president's not going to be the president for life. And we have seen how that works. And so I say we vote this up or down and move on.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just might remind the body that in 2 years, we will have more appointments that the sitting mayor will have control over. And in 4 years, at this same time, the sitting mayor will also be presenting us with 4 appointments. So this isn't, it isn't like it is as front-loaded as it appears. Keep in mind, there are 15 appointed positions to Planning Commission. We are only being presented with 3 names. Thank you.
Commissioner Jay. Oh, you don't, okay. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As Commissioner Hill said, yes, it's a staggered deal, and the idea behind this that Planning Commission doesn't sway with whoever is in the mayor's office. It tends to be a little more of a stable body, whether you agree with it or not. It tends to be a stable body, and I'll bring it back up. If you have issues with particular nominees, then I think they need to be voted up or down. I could say yes, I disagree with a couple of them, but if we vote up or down, would 5 more of you agree with me? Probably not. But I would have to make that case. So my question is, I do agree that we need to go ahead and vote this up or down. Whether you agree with them or not, let's vote it and move on with it for time's sake, because there are state issues tied to this. There are progressive steps beyond tonight's vote. So if you vote it up or vote it down, because I'm assuming we can take them individually, correct? And so, but if no one else has an issue with any of them, I'd say let's vote.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't think, Commissioner Thompson, we could take them individually the way this is spelled out, but I have the substitute motion, so we just ought to vote up or down on that, and if it fails, then up or down on the resolution itself. But I'm asking that we put it off for till the next government agenda meeting. Thank you.
Commissioner Russell.
Yes, I wanted to see if Law Director Moyers had any comment on whether we can take them individually.
I believe that it would be within your authority. Each nominee has to be nominated by the mayor and then approved by the commission. So I do believe you would have the authority to go through and say, we approve, nominee A, but not B or C, if you wanted to do that. I think that is within your authority, because each one of them has to be approved by the commission after nomination by the mayor. So I don't think it necessarily is all up or all down. It's written that way, but I think that you can break it. You can, in the parliamentary term, divide the question and take each one individually if you wish.
Thank you, Director Morris. I am still going to be supporting this, not because that primarily I'm going to be supporting it because I feel like asking for 30 days for this to be postponed is not a big ask when it's going to meet the deadline of when the term expires. We've set up here as a body, and I've actually had some resolutions and things that I've brought forth that have been postponed for 6 months, 180 days. So I don't think that asking for 30 days is an unreasonable request.
All right, we've got a substitute motion on the floor. I will be not voting for the substitute motion because I agree with Mr. Vandevate. We do have a duly elected mayor, and this is his responsibility at this point. And I think this is political, probably at best. Open voting.
Madam Chair, could you just repeat what we are
The substitute
voting on?
motion is to defer till June.
Okay, thank you.
You may change your vote. Voting is closed. And that motion failed. 3 yeses, Lee, Fox, and Russell. The rest were noes. So, Madam Clerk, next item. Oh, we got to go back to the original motion. So our original motion was, I think, was by Commissioner Jay. Do you have that? Because mine erased when, and Commissioner Hill. So we'll be back to the original motion to approve. Commissioner Jay, second by Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Russell, do you want to speak?
I'm sorry, I left it on.
Cleared it out. When we did a substitute motion, everybody that wanted to speak got cleared out of the queue.
Okay.
So those are probably
From the last time, okay. Commissioner Jay, was that from last time? You don't want to speak this time, okay. All right, open voting, please. And you may change your vote and close voting. And that passed 7 yeses, 2 noes, Lee and Fox. And 1 abstained is Russell. Next item.
The next item is Resolution R-26-5-112. It's accepting the resignation of Katie Overton from the Knox County Planning Commission and confirming the Knox County Mayor's nomination of Walla Habibi for appointment to complete the unfulfilled term of Katie Overton on the Planning Commission, which term expires June 30th, 2027.
I've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Jay. Do I have a second? A second by Commissioner Durrett. Any discussions? Commissioner Thompson? No, okay. Open voting. You may change your vote, and voting is closed. That passed 6 yeses, 2 noes is Lee and Fox, and Thompson and Russell abstained. Next item.
Okay, Resolution R-26-5-113 is confirming the appointments of 7 members of the East Tennessee Regional Juvenile Service Center Advisory Board as follows: Michael Smith, citizen of Knox County, appointed mayor; Ashley Ellis, Health Department representative, appointed by mayor; April Snell, professional expert in juvenile mental health, appointed by juvenile court judge; Teresa Parker, professional expert in juvenile social services, appointed by juvenile court judge; Catherine Ogle, professional expert in juvenile legal systems, appointed by juvenile court judge; Adam Monsieur, citizen of Knox County, appointed by juvenile court judge, and an appointment of a commissioner appointed by the commission chair.
Yeah, it's off consent.
It's off consent, so I don't think we skipped it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is what passed, I believe, last month or the month before, on the chair appointing someone to the juvenile court, the new board that they have. And I'm going to recommend Commissioner Jackson, and I'll tell you why. Commissioner Jackson was extremely involved with the board at the time when we were in charge of it, even traveled to Memphis with the mayor to get as much information as he could. So he has really done his homework and really spent the time and the effort on that committee. And so that would be my appointment. Do I have a motion to approve? Got a motion by Commissioner Jay and a second by Commissioner Hill. Any discussions? Seeing Commissioner Russell?
Yes, ma'am. As I'm sure you guys recall from the previous meeting that I had voted no on the way that the members were selected. So because of that, I will be abstaining from this vote. And I just wanted to explain before I did.
You may open voting. You may change your vote. Voting is closed. And that passes 9 yes. 1 abstention is Russell. Next item. You can go ahead and put it in there if you want to, just so it's read into. Yeah, that's fine. We did have number 18 though. You're going in, okay, yep, that's right. You said that earlier. Okay, next item.
Next item is Resolution R-26-5-301. It's approving a construction contract with DR Phillips LLC in the amount of $361,710.36 for the Knox County Sheriff's Office Tactical Driving Course, Phase 1.
Thank you. I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second? I got a second by Commissioner Durant. Discussion, Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Contrary to the previous item that we had, knowing that we'll have a new sheriff in September, I think it would be prudent, since we're actually spending money, we're not making appointments, we're actually spending $360,000, perhaps we put this off for the next sheriff to decide whether this is a necessary expense or not. Thank you.
Is Allison here? Can you come down, please?
Allison Rogers, Director of Finance for the Knox County Sheriff's Office.
Would you like to address that question that Commissioner Thompson had?
I'm actually we brought Chris Bryant, Captain Chris Bryant, with us tonight. He is over our training division, so he has talked to Sheriff-elect Gibson, so we brought him so he could address your questions.
All right, thank you.
The perfect guy to do it. Chris, if you'll give your name, please.
Chris Bryant, I'm the Director of Training for Knox County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you. Just go ahead and share what you want to, compare what Commissioner Thompson's concerns were.
So we have spoken with the current sheriff and the sheriff-elect. Current sheriff obviously would like to move forward with the project. The sheriff-elect simply states that he is understanding the need for the driving facility, but due to his lack of knowledge of what the instantaneous needs for the agency are, he was not willing to make a decision until he is on the floor doing the job.
Thank you. On this one also, I had a community meeting with the sheriff's office with Jim Snowden. I don't think Jim's here. There was quite a few of us that were there that evening to ask questions and answer the questions. As it stands right now, our officers in Knox County have to use other facilities for training. And that to me doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And this is something that Sheriff Spangler has been working on, and there it kind of goes back to duly elected, and he's the duly elected sheriff until August 31st. So this is something that I'll support because I think it's needed, and I think, Chris, you can speak to the need of being able to have something close by to be able to not have to make schedules and stuff, if you want to share that.
Yes, ma'am, 100%. We are dedicated to keeping our community safe around Knox County, and unfortunately, vehicle accidents are sometimes unavoidable, but sometimes we can avoid them with the proper training. Because we have to use and rely on the tracks at other facilities, our training is limited to the officers that we have. We are the third largest agency in the entire state. There's no reason we should have to beg, borrow, and steal other people's property to train our officers to be as safe as possible for the citizens of Knox County.
Thank you. Just stay right there in case
Yes,
anybody
ma'am.
has a question. Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Chair Oster. Having been in and heard the sheriff-elect speak on multiple occasions during the time that he was running, he has expressed that he could find a better use for this money, was his initial thoughts. He has not made a decision, but he said that he wanted to investigate it and make sure that he spent Knox County's money wisely. That being said, this is just part of a over $3 million project. And if I recall correctly, we are currently able to rent facilities. We're not having to steal them. We are renting them for a few $1,000s a year.
That is correct.
And I would hate to spend $361,000 that maybe the next sheriff says, this is not what I want. And so we have just basically wasted this money because he is not going to initiate or continue to put additional monies with this. It would be foolhardy to spend money that you don't know if it's going to come to fruition because someone else is going to be making that decision. That is the true example of waste that has been tossed about up here on this commission several times. So I will definitely be voting no on this, just simply because I don't believe, we need to wait and see if the entire project's coming to fruition, especially when we're able to rent a location to do this for just a few $1,000s a year.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sir, could you explain the broader project? Because I don't believe we've given information about where it is, what phase one is that phase one of
So
5 or 2 or what? I mean, give us
So
a,
the money was allotted by yourselves in 2025 to start the project. We have been given a piece of property down off of Foot Mineral Road that is owned by the county, so the property costs us absolutely nothing. So we are tasked with coming up with the money for the construction of the project.
and how many phases is it, and what's the total
I
long-term?
am not certain. That would be a question for our planner.
There are going to be 2 phases. Well, there's actually 3.
Yeah, you just need to introduce yourself for the-
Actually, my name's Hugh Holt. I'm the procurement director for the sheriff's office. That project is broken down into 3 phases. The first phase is clear cut grub and haul off a tremendous amount of garbage that's on that property. The second phase will be grading and asphalt, and the third phase will be buildings.
And do you have a total, do you know what the total, is that an accurate statement on the total?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lee?
Thank you, Chair. I have several questions about this. I did speak to Sheriff-elect Gibson today, who told me that he did not have the information to address this. So he has not spoken to Sheriff Spangler about this project, and he was not willing to comment whether he was for it or against it. But I have several questions. I think this is a lot of money, and considering the budget for the county and the sheriff's budget, is this a priority when I believe there's some other issues that are going to have to be addressed? For instance, the pipes at the detention center. Are you familiar with the pipes at the detention center that have to be replaced?
I am not, ma'am. I am a patrol trainer. I do not work with
Okay.
corrections or know anything about the pipes that you're speaking
Okay.
of.
Just for this commission's information, I've got, speaking that the pipes are very outdated and that they're going to have to be replaced at the detention center, which is going to be a huge cost. And then also not only replacing the pipes, but if you're having to relocate prisoners, where are you going to put them while we're doing that? So that's upcoming in the near future. Are you familiar with the property room of at the Academy of Dorm Rooms? Are you familiar with that?
I am.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that those are in near to terrible conditions?
They are, and if my memory recalls, we tried to switch the money that we're speaking of today to build new dorms last year, and you again turned that down as well.
Okay. So that is going to be something that needs to be addressed,
It
probably.
has been.
Yes, okay. Also, on this track that you're talking about, have plans to have bathrooms there, electricity, water?
By the end of phase 3, we should have classroom, bathrooms, running water, electricity, yes.
Okay. And I feel like that the new sheriff is coming. He is not really able to weigh in on this decision, that shortly he's going to be faced with what is he going to do with all the priorities at the sheriff's department, that this is something that we need to absolutely wait to see where the sheriff wants to go with this, because there are a lot of cost and expenses and probably priorities that he's going to have to determine where he wants to spend the money. So I will be voting this down. Thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. What did you say the address was for this again?
I'm not sure the numerics. Do you?
6101 Foot Mineral Lane.
6101 Foot Mineral Lane.
That's Foote.
Okay. And this may be a question for you all, or maybe a question for Commissioner Russell, but my recollection when I was looking over things is it's $3,000. Is it a year to rent the current facility?
Depending upon the amount of times we request facility, yes. We spend approximately $3,000 a year with the agency that we use right now, but we are bound by their allotment for the time that is given to us.
What agency? Where is the current facility?
Walter State Community College.
Is that currently managed by Walter State or some other agency?
It is. They also run their own regional training academy. So again, we use the track at their pleasure. When they have available location or space for us, we fit into their time.
Has that ever presented a problem? Have there been conflicts where you wanted to do training and you were unable to do so?
It's constantly a problem. I mean, our officers are required to have a minimum of 40 hours of driving, and then we're required to do it every single year and in service. We don't have the location to always meet the minimum requirements for us. And we cannot base our training on our minimum requirements. If we're going to be the best officers to serve the county, we need to excel at that.
So how many officers need to qualify 40 hours per year?
So they don't qualify 40 hours a year. There's an initial 44 during the academy, and then a minimum of 8 hours every single year.
Okay. How many officers need to do 40 hours per year before they can start patrolling?
Every patrolman has to do the minimum 40 hours. And then we have 425 patrol officers or certified officers that drive county vehicles. I believe that number is correct at this time.
So that's 425 times 8.
Correct.
Okay. And then how many recruits do you bring in that you also have to give them 40?
We are doing approximately 60 recruits a year right now.
That's 5,800 hours. 5,800 hours, okay. And I mean, can you quantify like how many officers have had to fall short because you simply didn't have the allotments afforded to the agent, to the sheriff's office to get it done?
We don't fall short on the minimum hours. We meet our minimum hours, but we need more than the minimum. We need as much driving as we possibly can get in our training.
Okay. I have a question. Well, okay, I'm sorry, I apologize. Mr. Holt, yeah. Let's say we were to approve this money to be spent, you would not be expecting Knox County to write you a check for $361,000. Is that correct? You would submit invoices that would be approved?
Correct. I'm not the contractor. I work for the sheriff's office. But yes, we have Robert Campbell Associates. They'll handle all the payment process. They'll send it to us, say, hey, this part of the work has been completed. Please pay from the contract.
Is this part of the work? This is just like you're wanting to get excavation and cleanup started. Is that what this is?
This is just clear cut and grub. We're taking the trees out and hauling the trash off.
How many acres is this we're talking about?
It's 55 acres total. We'll be clear cutting 17 acres. I have also been working with the city on this project as well as KUB and to make sure that we comply with all the tree canopy ordinances.
Are there other agencies in this area that are not able to use the Walter State facilities to the extent that they want to? Like Blount County Sheriff's Office or Knoxville Police Department or so on and so forth?
They both have their own
Blount
tracks.
County Sheriff's Office and Knoxville Police Department have their own driving tracks, and they run continuous back-to-back academies throughout the year, which keeps us from using their property.
Are there other law enforcement agencies around the area that would be interested in renting a track that Knox County built?
100% there would have to be. I mean, even as far as school bus drivers doing their training, TDOT doing their training, other agencies that have to complete in-service hours every single year could rent the track from us to complete and maximize the driving time for their own officers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Holt, refresh my memory as the procurement director. The $3 million came before us, did you say in 2025?
Yes,
Oh,
that was,
Allison?
I'll defer to Ms. Rogers. She's the finance director.
Okay.
Yes, in FY '25, you approved, the total project is $3.5 million.
Okay.
1.75 was appropriated in FY '25, and the additional 1.75 was appropriated in FY '26.
Okay.
We have spent or appropriated about $153,000 so far for this project, not counting, of course, the one that's here before you today.
Okay. Thank you. I am, I do agree with several other commissioners that have spoken. Unlike some, this isn't an appointment, and this isn't voting on a bond. I am reluctant. I'm not saying I don't believe what anybody here has said, but I've heard a couple of commissioners speak for who we know, in fact, will be our incoming sheriff. And I am wondering if there might be some wisdom in perhaps asking for a deferral till June so that we could get maybe a clearer understanding of what our sheriff's vision, our new sheriff's vision might be for this. Because I don't know what other needs are out there either. So that's just something to potentially consider also, instead of just saying he said this or she said that. It might be good to hear directly from that sheriff. Just a suggestion. I'm not married to it, but I might like to hear some other comments on that.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Chair Oster. Commissioner Fox, I noticed you were looking at the potential for proceeding and then renting it. I would like to remind you that currently we're only paying, this is a $3.5 million investment, and we, as a larger county, are only paying $3,000 to Walter State for rental. That's never gonna float. That's never gonna be a profit-making or cost-effective solution there. So just kind of wanted to remind you of those numbers. I do agree with Commissioner Hill. I think what the best wisdom is simply to either possibly postpone this until the sheriff-elect decides he wants to bring it back before us. That gives him a chance to come in, look at the entire budget. I don't know if he has access to all of the information that he's going to need to make a decision in 30 days. And that's basically what he said. I can't say I'm for this because I know there's a lot of priorities out there. But I don't think he's going to have an answer in 30 days. He's not going to have access to all the records and all the financial data that he's going to need to make a good decision. So what I would like to do is to postpone this until October the 1st. And then that way, that gives him a chance to get into office, have a month to look over the priorities, and come back to us if he wishes to pursue it.
If I may just respond to it quickly. Just FYI, Commissioner Russell, even though the initial cost might be the $3,000 a year to rent it, there absolutely is more cost than that, just with what it costs to have them travel down there, the time allotted. That's a lot of officer time just spent on the road. You know, and I don't know if they take their cruisers or they take mileage, but that's time that really is taken away from time they could be on the road. So the initial cost is way more than the $3,000 a year. Just
Commissioner
side
Rawls?
comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mrs. Rogers, I had a couple of questions. Walk me back through this. So this was a FY25 budget allocation.
In the capital improvement plan.
In the capital improvement plan
Yes.
that the sheriff had. And so it was allocated, now we're asking for pieces of that money.
Correct. Yes.
So was any allocated, well, this budget hasn't been solidified yet, so.
Yeah, that FY25 carried over to the
Okay.
FY26, what we did not spend. Because like I said, we've only encumbered about $153,000 of the project.
Okay, great.
So it was in FY25, but what we didn't spend carried over to this year
Yeah,
also.
so it's already been allocated. You guys know what to spend it on, et cetera. Okay, thank you. That's what I needed.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I tend to agree with you that whether it's Sheriff Spangler or Mayor Jacobs, there are priorities that are put into place prior to this month's agenda item. And I appreciate the conversation and the information that you've given us. I tend to be a little prideful and competitive. And when I hear that Blount County and KPD has a track and we don't, I don't, KCSO, to me, I mean, we shouldn't be second to anybody. In a resource like that, I could certainly see where THP and some other agencies could certainly use this. I'm not opposed to postponing 30 days if you want, because I think it would be nice. I have a sales background, and so when I see this amount, and maybe we need a better pitch. Sell us on the idea. Tell us why you're so motivated and want this, need the benefits of it. Maybe where the other revenue, because I remember when I met with Sheriff Spangler about a year ago, we were talking about, expenses and revenue sources, and when inmates and the state reimburses, is their income and expenses, and how it ebbs and flows. And so it may be a $3 million project, as Commissioner Russell pointed out, but there may be some income revenue opportunities in there as well to offset costs. So I guess some more pieces of the puzzle to create a better picture for this would be nice.
Sure, I can do that. So even on a national scale, the motor vehicle crashes are consistently one of the single leading causes of accidental line of duty deaths. We're not immune to that in Knox County or in the state of Tennessee at all. Over the last 5-year period, that has just increased nationally has been astronomical. In Knox County alone, since 2025, our deputies have had 206 vehicle accidents, and 95 of those has been identified as at-fault accidents. So we can recoup the loss of that by training our officers better, okay? So we don't have to, we can argue over money all day long, but it doesn't matter that the driving that we give the officers on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a yearly basis does not prepare them to drive a 4,000-pound vehicle under extreme stress, working on a laptop, answering the radio, responding to a stressful call. None of that comes into play in our training environments that we are allotted the time that we have to do right now. So we can use this advanced EVOC course, which is the Emergency Vehicle Operations course, that equip our deputies with the life-saving skills just driving in everyday traffic that we can use.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because I think just a broader context of what this really means and the benefit.
Understood.
Because Walter State is not just right down the corner.
It is not.
It's about an hour drive
It's
from
a little
here?
over an hour for us, yes.
Yeah, and so it's multiple vehicles, multiple personnel.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just, I think these are all valid points, but I'm just going to come back to that we're not voting on next year's budget. We're voting on something that was already approved. And this train has already left the station, or the car has left the garage.
Good analogy.
This is, unless we have some specific thing that we think that this contract is by a poor contractor or doesn't meet the standards of this project, I think we are bound to vote for this. And I'm going to vote against any kind of deferral and vote for this. I think we're just voting to keep things moving with the budget that was approved in prior fiscal years.
Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Chair Oster. I do have well, first I would say in regards to the thought that this has been approved, it was approved. We have spent a small amount of money already, 153. I would hate to see us throw another 362 at it and then kill the project. At that point, we have wasted money, and Knox County does not have the money to waste. I could name you 100 things right now that we could spend $362,000 on that would benefit people. I've got several roads that I can name that need paved. So I just don't think we should waste money when we don't know if it is a waste or not, because we don't know if the next sheriff is going to pursue this or not. It's not whether it was approved or not, it's whether he's going to pursue it or not. And if he's not going to pursue it, we're just lighting money on fire and wasting it. I do have one question, though, because you said that the property was given to Knox County, but then we said we had spent $153,000 so far, but we've not done any cleanup or anything like that. What have we spent $153,000 on?
Well, I'll defer to Allison. We acquired the property in 1983, the county did. It was purchased to do low-income housing. And the property was owned by a company called Foot Mineral. Foot Mineral polluted that property. The county, along with HUD, cleaned that property up. And the county has held that on its roll since 1984. The county has looked at multiple opportunities to do something to that property, and it's always fell through. That's how we ended up with it.
So the 153 is what has accumulated since 19...
No, the 153 is a part of the track process. That's paying our engineers, and we've had to, there's a little bit of site cleanup we've had to do to be able to get equipment in there.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I step back what I said previously, especially after listening to Commissioner Jackson. This is something we have approved. It is in our capital improvement plan, which I'm very reluctant to mess around much with that, just because they don't get put on that plan lightly. The fact is, I trust that Sheriff Spangler would not have brought this had there not been a genuine necessity. So I am I am going to go ahead and I'd love to see this move forward. I do think our officers need the very best facilities out there, and it sounds like we're behind the game playing catch up in this, like we are so many other things already. And I do agree that this would be much better having it in our own backyard. Thank you.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would encourage our commissioners to think about what does it cost if there's a fatal accident? What's it cost Knox County? We invest in training to avoid accidents, to avoid fatalities, to avoid things that will cost far more than this track. And for any of you who have never been on a ride-along, I encourage you to do so. The ones I've been on with the officers in both KCSO and KPD, you will find utter amazement of what these officers have to go through on a basic call, much less a high pursuit call, much less a being first to the scene call. The amount of things they have to juggle at a moment's notice between information, laptops, cell phones, sirens, traffic, pedestrians, it's remarkable. And if you have not been on a ride-along, book one today, regardless of this vote, and go out and see what they do. What you're not thinking about with an investment in this track is the downside cost of not what happens if we spend money on a track to train. What happens if we don't? And one of our officers doesn't have the right training and gets into a fatal accident? How much will our law department have to pay out for a fatality? We invest to train, we invest for the best. We don't rely on the what ifs. We get proactive. We've approved this. I plan on approving it and voting yes for it. And I've spent time with you at the training facility. We've talked about this project and many others. This is a moment when our commission is saying out loud the things that is going to come to a stark reality more and more every single month for the next many, many years. We are not investing enough in our officers. We never have, and it's shameful. We are not investing in our county properly to be the best county possible. We are not investing enough in our training and our team. And for everybody who stands up and says, I back the blue, and then just doesn't back it up with anything to invest in this team, shame on all of us. We need to be better about looking way down the road and investing strategically. I'm happy to support it. I hope you get this passed tonight, and I hope you continue on with the good work, and I appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing that's giving me heartburn is that because we don't know what Sheriff-elect Gibson thinks about it, we have a contract that once we give you approval to sign it, that's $360,000. And if Sheriff-elect Gibson says, oh, you know what, I've decided I don't want to pursue this at this time, well, then we are locked into paying all that $361,000 from what I've just read the contract, from what I can see. I mean, is there no way to divide the contract that you're currently presented to the commission up into separate components so that, we keep going like people are requesting, and then if something happens, we can pull up the stakes on the rest of it?
This was a construction contract bid lump sum, so there's no dividing it up. Now, we could, I guess if we wanted to go back, have our engineer draw up new documents at a cost, and then rebid it, which we're probably talking 30 to 60 days on that. So, yeah, it's possible to break it up, but that's not how it was done initially.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Thompson?
I'd just like to call the question.
All right, I'm going to say something. Allison, can you come up for a minute? So this commission appropriated in 2025 on the capital improvement plan for this driving track, correct?
Correct.
And that's what is appropriated for,
Yes.
correct? So if the newly elected sheriff wants to change that, what process does he have to go through?
We would come back to the commission to ask for it to be appropriated for one of his priorities, if it was not the driving track.
But I would think that a newly elected sheriff would want to make sure that the office had the best that they could have, right? And have our
Correct.
officers trained?
Yes.
Just my thought. Second, if I go by what Commissioner Russell says, wasting money doesn't really quantify our officers' lives. This really aggravates me that we have spent this amount of time talking about something that we approved last year. Allison, has any of the commissioners that have had these questions tonight called you before this meeting?
No.
Okay. This property is full of sinkholes, correct?
Correct.
Trash all over the place,
Yes.
correct? A ton of phone calls because of homelessness and drug use at this location, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When I had the community meeting, which is really what everybody should be concerned with, what the community was saying too, with the sheriff's office, and Mr. Campbell, I'm sorry I left you out, but thank you. We heard that they were actually happy to have this area cleaned up, correct?
That's
and have more
correct.
sheriffs.
Very positive feedback.
And we're the third largest sheriff's office in the state of Tennessee, correct?
Correct.
So we otherwise are expecting our officers, like Chris, to go beg and steal to have places to go train our officers to be the best that they can be, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this commission wants to always stand up to protect officers, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're doing is totally not protecting officers, and we're totally being, I don't even know. I just don't even have words for it. This was already approved. If these questions were so dire by the people who are wanting to postpone this and not spend money on training our officers, why did nobody call Allison before tonight? I mean, thank goodness that I did and asked her to come down here to answer these questions. The fact of the matter is, the money has already been allocated. This is what our officers need. Now, just like Commissioner Jay said, if we're going to talk the talk, we better walk the walk. And we can train our officers much better if we have our own facilities, if they do not have to travel an hour back and forth that's taking them off the roads. And matter of fact, we're actually short patrol officers, correct, Allison?
Yes.
So we can't get them into neighborhoods where our people need them, right? Okay. And then we're going to take them 2 hours off the road on top of training. Okay. I will not be voting to postpone this. I will be voting for this. And I think the next time that our officers are down here, having to beg this commission to do something to be a little safer, we probably ought to be a little bit more thankful that they're willing to do this job. So the vote, call has been called. And
Madam
we're-
Chair, I have my mic on. A request to speak.
The question's been called. It was already called by Commissioner Thompson. Open the votes, please. We are voting on the motion to approve this. We didn't have a second on a, so this is on the original motion. You may change your votes. Voting is closed, and that passed with 2 noes, Russell and Lee. We are going to take a 15-minute break. Call back in order. Madam Clerk, next item.
It's Resolution R-26-5-901. And it is amending the Knox County Commission Rules, Rule 6, Section E, honorary resolutions, proclamations, discussion items, ordinances, and resolutions to include a definition of presentations for legislative agendas.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve by Commissioner Durrett, second by Commissioner Rawls. Discussion, Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only reason I pulled this off of the the consent is I didn't remember the previous language that we discussed saying specifically that a commissioner could not bring an item as a presentation. So I thought we discussed the language and that just wasn't in there. And I can think of, for instance, Commissioner Jay, a number of months ago, brought an item under presentation when we talked about the utility pole issue. So that's why I brought it up. And I guess I'm looking for a response. Is that true?
Commissioner Durrett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so this does say not commissioners. So in fact, if this had been in place when Commissioner Jay wanted to bring that presentation, he wouldn't be able to do it under presentations of our agenda.
Well, was it changed from the language we previously discussed?
Well, this hasn't been before us yet. Yes, it was changed because when it did come to us, it went back to Rules Committee and was amended. And so this is what the Rules Committee voted on to move forward to this larger body.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no further discussions, open voting, please. You may change your vote. And voting is closed. That passed 7 yeses, 3 noes, is Lee, Fox, and Russell. Next item, please.
The next item is Resolution R-26-5-904, requesting the Knox County Planning Commission to recommend amendments to the Knox County zoning ordinance to define and add specific requirements for data centers and data center accessory uses.
A motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Fox, second by Commissioner Thompson. Discussion? Commissioner Russell?
Madam Chair, did we skip one? Did we skip R-26-5701 for the utility easement? It was item number 31, which was before item number 36, which were...
That one was deferred to June.
Okay, it said to be added on the printout. Thank you.
Commissioner Rawls.
Sorry. Give me a second, Madam Chair. I'm trying to get myself together. You can
want
go with
Commissioner
somebody else.
Durrett to go?
Somebody else can go.
Okay, Commissioner Durrett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To avoid any potential conflict of interest, I will be recusing myself from this vote.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. Commissioner, are you ready now? Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't support big centers, so I'm with you, Fox. I just want to see a couple of things in Exhibit A, and so is Aaron Gill still out? Okay, Ms. Gill, could you come up, please? And most of my constituents are in our KUB footprint, and so I reached out to KUB just because there's a lot to AI centers to wrap your head around. We live in this digital society, so while there is a bit of need for data consumption. Is that me echoing? All right, so anyway, forget the speech I wrote. Could you speak to a couple of things that we talked about?
Certainly, I'd be glad to. Erin Gill, I work at KUB. I'm the Vice President of Communications and External Relations in Knoxville. I've been able to speak to several of you and have appreciated our conversation. I want to be clear up front that KUB fully supports the idea that this would move forward to Planning Commission to work on to create thoughtful standards. We agree that data centers absolutely need to pay their fair share and that it's fully appropriate for this body to determine where they should go in relation to the other needs and the other, values that we have. So again, all of that prefaced by the statement that we would, fully support being part of that conversation as it moves forward. My goal is to answer whatever questions you have and try to provide some fact that can help inform the conversation as it moves forward. Commissioner Rawls, feel free to elaborate if there are other questions, but one of the things that may be enlightening and helpful is that we have 3 data centers on KUB service footprint. 2 of them are located in Knox County. The 2 that are here are both the largest as well as the smallest of the 3 that we have. The smaller one is actually in downtown up on Summit Hill. You might not know it's a data center if you drive past it. The larger one is in Forks of the River, and that is our larger one. It is about 73 megawatts of contracted demand. And as some of the speakers alluded to, it is a very large user of our system. It paid upfront, as well as all of our data centers paid upfront for any infrastructure upgrades that they need. That is a really important protection that KUB enforces, not just for data centers, but really for any new load that comes onto our system. We think it's really important that we capture those infrastructure upgrade payments on the front end so that ratepayers are not at risk if that new entity were to not come to fruition or to leave. The other important thing that's maybe helpful to frame the conversation is that perhaps counterintuitively, these data centers and the amount of energy that they use helps keep our local rates lower because they spread the fixed infrastructure costs that we have to incur to serve all of us. They spread that fixed infrastructure cost over a much larger amount of kilowatt hours, the usage. And so that helps actually put downward pressure on local rates because it's revenue that's going into that fixed infrastructure that we would otherwise have to pay from other sources. So again, wanting to just clarify that point on both the upfront cost and then the ongoing impacts when it comes to local rates. And I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you. I would ask that when we move this to Planning Commission, and I'm going to vote, I'm going to vote for it. But when this goes to Planning Commission, I would like to see that we have all of our utilities, from LCUB to Halls Chapman, all of them, and our communications companies sit at the table so we can come up with a clear plan that works for everybody.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Gill, appreciate so much you being here and enlightening us. And we had a great conversation this afternoon. And I would like to take some of the information that you provided me and let everybody, put it on the public record, let everybody hear about it. One thing that that I think you persuaded me about was maybe we would, this ordinance would be better served if it did not prohibit connection to the electric grid, but actually required it. And you explained to me why, and I just would like for you to explain to everybody else why that might be a good idea.
Sure, I'm happy to. So I think there's a couple key aspects why connection to the grid could be a benefit. Part of that is because, again, there's a new user on the system that helps defray those fixed infrastructure costs, and that we have the protections in place, the policies in place that would make sure that those new users pay their fair share up front. I think the second aspect that might be worth considering is that when users go off-grid, when they have to self-generate electricity, when we've looked in other communities, you often see those data centers utilizing either diesel or gas generators to create that power. Those typically come with significant noise and additional pollution needs that adds further hurdle and frustration to the surrounding community. The other piece, however, is that the utility can serve as an important regulatory partner in enforcing the terms of the contract under which they are granted service. And so this is, again, the case that we would see with our existing data centers. For example, the large user out in Forks of the River, they are under a very strict contract with us. They have a set amount of contracted demand that they cannot exceed. If they were to exceed that, we have regulatory tools to push them back into compliance. They're also interruptible, which means that they come offline in moments when the grid might be experiencing stress or exceptional cost. So that interruptibility is another really critical piece that helps, again, protect our other ratepayers, while at the same time that is a contract obligation that if that were not to be fulfilled, we have regulatory ability at the utility to enforce. So again, when these things are off-grid, when they're not connected to our system, you lose the ability of the utility to be a regulatory partner in enforcing compliance with the terms of the rules of the road.
Yeah, and also you said, so not only does that bring a layer of regulation for, achieved through KUB, but also you mentioned something to me about TVA having a layer of regulation.
Correct. So a couple points around TVA, and I don't want to speak for them, so just say that up front. But the first is that whenever a new user is coming on and seeking permission to get to the system, anything over 5 megawatts, which is, again, comparatively speaking, our larger one is around 70, so 5 is a much smaller system, they have to go to TVA to seek a system review. And to the extent that the system outside of KUB's footprint would be negatively impacted, that's going to be an additional layer of cost that new entity has to invest into the system. The other, again, there's 2 layers of that interruptibility clause in the current contract. So the first is that TVA, when they are managing the production, the generators that they're producing electricity with, when that cost either gets too high or when it is experiencing stress, like we saw in Winter Storm Elliott, for example, they pick up the phone and that data center comes offline. So they are responsive to TVA from that regulatory compliance realm as well. And that's another piece. If they don't respond to TVA, that's a contract infringement. KUB similarly can make that same call for our local system. So even if it's a blue sky day and TVA isn't experiencing any issues, we still have the ability, if we have something going on in our system, that we can continue to make sure that they are interrupted.
Okay. And I can't even remember what question it was that I asked you. You said, okay, thanks, I'll check into that. Do you remember what question I was talking about?
I do.
Okay.
So one of your questions was around water usage.
Yes.
And one of the other, again, just wanting to provide perspective on the local centers that we have now, they are very small water users, at least in terms of what they're drawing from KUB. We don't obviously have visibility into something they're drawing from a well. But those users, the largest user of that is similar to a Walmart when you look at their usage. So again, not using significant water throughout the day. The question you asked, I believe, was related to the limit that you had proposed on the forum for one of the terms of Exhibit A. I do have some perspective, so I think you put in the final version on the forum, anything that exceeds 20,000 gallons per day would have been a line. Just for perspective, for one of our larger water user, which is a commercial/industrial customer, they are drawing 238,000 gallons per day. Now, again, that's not a data center. That is an industrial manufacturer partner, but we have the ability to serve quite a bit. And honestly, if we had another partner who wanted to draw $238,000, gallons a day to do something, we would see that again as a way to spread fixed infrastructure costs across a much wider footprint of ratepayers. And so that would be perceived as a positive thing for all of us in terms of the water rates that we pay. Our facility, which treats the water out at the Mark B. Whitaker facility just down the road on Riverside Drive, we have the ability to treat and pump 60 million gallons a day under our existing infrastructure. On average, we're pumping based on the needs of the community closer to 30. So we have a lot of headroom in terms of what we can provide with regards to water.
Okay. And can you, just for the sake of the commission and everyone, give a comparative usage? You mentioned a couple other big users for KUB, UT, what, hospital or UT Medical Center?
Yeah, this is a question that several folks asked, like, well, help me imagine, what does 70 megawatts look like? So other than the footprint of the space, which again, I think that's a zoning question of how much space it takes up and where it sits, when it comes to the power demand, if you want to think of a point of comparison, UT Medical Center, big hospital, they are drawing about 12 to 15 megawatts, so kind of in that dozen ballpark. So again, you think about the footprint of that versus the data center usage. Data centers are intensive, but again, KUB is committed to making sure we have the regulatory and financial protections in place so that those users are net benefits to the system and do not push costs or other financial impacts onto the rest of our ratepayers.
Okay, thank you. Madam Chair, I would like to just I would like to speak on this matter again, but allow other commissioners to ask questions if they have any.
Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I spent a good portion of time this week reading through any number of data points and lots of information shared by utility providers, by IT and technical providers, reading through this. I agree that we need to send this to Planning Commission and planning staff to thoroughly vet out, because already what we're seeing just in a short number of weeks is sort of changing data and changing proposals. And I agree with Commissioner Rawls that, like, we need everybody at the table. We need telecom companies, we need IT companies and experts, utilities, water resource, the public. Everybody needs to be part of this conversation. So, but I think that we're heading in the right direction to send it to our planning commission and our planning staff, let them properly vet it out and really think about today and in the future and the uses and how much we regulate and not regulate. That's their job, and I think they do a very tremendous amount of, they do a tremendous amount of work to come back to us. 2 or 3 times over my time in commission, we've sent something to planning and said, go figure this out, and they have come back in a very productive way, far more than 11 of us can do individual research and have individual conversations with utility providers. But I think we ought to send it clean without the exhibit. And I think that's important because I know, Commissioner Fox, the exhibit's already changed and you've added some stuff and you added some stuff today, but I think we ought to just send it clean and say, we want you to go find everything you possibly can and come back to us with multiple recommendations or a way forward. You can certainly send, any one of us can send any of that information to Amy Brooks, who would probably lead this effort through the planning department and commission as a liaison. But sending it clean as just a request from us to say, go figure this out and bring everybody to the table and then come back, probably leaves it a lot better position than to give them a preordained set of, this is what we think, because it may limit us to things that they could come back with. And I think it certainly doesn't prevent us from providing that information. So I'd actually like to offer a substitute motion to approve this resolution with the removal of just any reference to Exhibit A and the Exhibit A. Just send it clean to say go and do the research and bring it back to us. And so that's my substitute motion.
Okay. Got a substitute motion on the floor. To
approve with the removal of Exhibit A and just saying that it doesn't prevent us from providing that information to them, but it, doesn't limit them to just sort of focus on that.
Okay. I'm just trying to get everybody. Okay. So I've got a substitute motion on the floor by Commissioner Jay and a second by Commissioner Hill. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm still getting used to this system because it wiped away the request to speak with a new motion. I appreciate Commissioner Rawls and Fox getting into the utility issue because we also had a very lengthy, in-depth discussion. And so it looks like from a utility perspective, we have regulation and there are some safeguards in place there to make sure that the public doesn't fit the bill for proposed projects and they're paying for it up front. My concern, the other portion of this too is when we're looking at planning is where do these go? What's the size? What's the scope? Because a 3 megawatt unit clearly is in downtown Knoxville. And as you pointed out, you wouldn't know it was a data center if you didn't know it was a data center. But a 70 megawatt unit, you clearly know is a data center and it looks like a warehouse. You probably wouldn't want it in your backyard. So figure out what is appropriate, the limitation on size, scope, aesthetics, sound, lighting, everything else that goes along with it to make sure that, because they're not, any data center of any size is not going in downtown Knoxville, right? It's probably coming out into the more rural areas because that's where the space is, that's where the land is. So I do think that these need to be limited to an industrial park. It's an industrial use. It should be limited to an industrial park. It should be limited in physical size and scope. Maybe the power usage is 10, 15 megawatts, but its actual footprint is limited. And so you have a limitation of what you can actually do within that limited footprint, and it can't take up 15, 20, 50 acres, 60 acres. I know there's one in western North Carolina where we went to, and there's a 1,000-acre dairy farm that sold to a data center, and the entire 1,000 acres is going to be a data center. And that, to me, is unacceptable in Knox County. So trying to keep it in size and scope of its physical footprint, what it looks like, because we deal on a monthly basis with subdivisions moving in. Well, data centers have almost bottomless pits to their pockets and what they can pay for these things. They're paying for the infrastructure and the power and the utilities all up front before they ever turn a dime. And so our land development for housing can't compete with what develops data centers are able to pay. So I think should be a focus of the planning staff and commission as well as, because obviously KUB and TVA are going to have their own regulations of what's acceptable, what they can handle, and forcing them to comply with their contracts. So, thank you.
Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One of my largest concerns in regards to the data centers is not necessarily on the amount of water usage, but what happens to the water when it is used by these data centers. They use it for cooling. So what happens, they either return it to the system if they're using a public utility, but it is returned at a much greater temperature than when it left. So that water is going back into our lakes, back into our environment at a much warmer level. Knox County is known for its lakes, for its beauty. So I'm very concerned about how that will environmentally affect our lakes, the recreation and the recreation industry that profits off of our lakes, the people who moved here specifically for those. And if they don't return the water heated, then it evaporates, which means it's gone from our water table permanently, because they're either going to get it from a utility or they're going to get it from a well. Either way, it's coming from our water table. And Tennessee is known for having sinkholes and that kind of thing. We certainly don't need to be adding to that issue. So I see this not only as an aesthetic, as Commissioner Thompson phrased it, having to look at a large, ugly, massive building out in the community. I don't look at it just as that, or just as the electrical usage and, you know, what it's going to cost the taxpayers as far as money for electricity or water. Those are both very, very valid issues, but the environmental impact is probably the greatest issue to me, because it's one that cannot be controlled, per se, by making them pay for infrastructure up front, or making something aesthetically pleasing, or whatever. It's something that once we allow it in here, the damage is done.
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Jackson, or Commissioner Fox, for bringing this to us. I read the resolution. I read the attachment, and then I read a couple of articles and realized how much I don't know about what I really don't know about, and data centers fell under that. I will be first to admit that this is not my wheelhouse, except that I know pretty much what everybody knows, is that nobody wants a mega center plopped in Knox County. That reason and more, I absolutely support this substitute motion and really hope that we can just go ahead and vote on it. This is something that Knox Planning needs to address. This is something I think would be very appropriate rolled into our UDO, and this is something that certainly we are all free to share any restrictions or regulations or attachments similar to what Commissioner Fox has already brought. So I think it's very important that we move forward on this, and that we let Planning Commission do what they do best and bring us recommendations.
Commissioner Durant?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there somebody from Planning Commission here? Ms. Portier, if you don't mind, can you come up to the podium?
Hi, Michelle Porche, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Thank you for being here. What would be the process if this were to be approved tonight, when we were to send it to Planning Commission? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we would take that to the Planning Commission for them to consider putting in our work programs. That needs to be added officially to our work program for us to begin to work on it. And at that point, we would start to do the research that you guys are talking about to address the issues that you all are raising, which are all valid concerns. So we would look at that, and then depending on our public notice requirements, we would add it to the nearest agenda once that process played out, like once we'd had an opportunity to put something together.
All right, thank you. In your research, I know part of the ordinance does include square footage requirements or maximum square footage requirements, buffers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm assuming that would be part of what you would be included when you all do that. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Would it also include the definition of a data center?
Yes.
Of like what would be considered a data center and what would not?
Yes, anytime we want to address a use that's not included in the ordinance, we would want to make sure it's clearly defined so that people know this is what it is, this is what it entails before we start to look at adding how it should be regulated.
Okay, thank you. And this was mentioned in our agenda review last week, but there was a data center bill that was passed by the Tennessee General Assembly and signed into law by Governor Lee on May 7th. That does include a definition of data centers. It does include what data centers are not. It also includes what electric utilities will be required to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I agree with the substitute motion that I think this should go forward, minus any kind of Exhibit A or language of Exhibit A in the resolution or attachment, just because it is all so new. And so it allows planning the freedom to research everything there is that has come out regarding this, that has come out from other areas. I know when I am on some of my committee meetings with the National Association of Counties, I know Virginia has been pummeled by, in West Virginia for, there's a data center left and right. And so they even have been hosting webinars on data centers, how they've approached it, and how to move forward if a county faces one coming in. And so I do appreciate everything that you all do for us, and I just wanted to make sure that we knew what the process would be once this resolution is passed, if that takes place. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to echo, I definitely support the substitute motion to send it clean to planning, and I will echo Commissioner Durrett, since we went to NACO in February. They did talk a lot about Virginia was really rocked with those, and they wish now they would have started it at planning and then worked, you know, up a plan. And I think definitely putting utilities, telecoms, other people on that is probably the best way to go. So I'll support the substitute motion. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Mr. Moyers. I thought, Mr. Moyers, that we had to propose an ordinance that would then be reviewed by Planning Commission, and then once they place their recommendation, then it comes back to us for voting. Isn't that how that works?
Not exactly. It can work that way.
Okay.
But basically, the way the statutory scheme is set up under the state law, any change to the zoning code has to go before the Planning Commission first for them to make recommendations, and then it can come back to us. So sometimes this commission has said to the Planning Commission, we want an ordinance, we want a new use on review regarding landfills, okay? And the Planning Commission will come up with something and send it to us. And once they've made their recommendations, and we can look at them and approve them, not approve them, modify them, whatever. You can also do as we're doing here with a proposed ordinance. Please look at this, you know, Planning Commission, amend it, approve it, make your recommendations. The one thing that has to happen before we can amend our zoning code is the Planning Commission has to take a crack at it. So whether we give them an ordinance to look at, or whether we just say broadly, we want you to come up with something that regulates data centers, either one works. But either way, it has to go there first if we're going to amend the zoning code with it.
Okay, thank you. So my comment on this is, well, first of all, normally I would say that imperfect action is far better than perfect inaction. And my concern about just turning it over willy-nilly to the Planning Commission with taking no further action on our part could result in a lot of inaction that then results in more planning center or more data centers being built. I mean, I heard that my research is there's currently an expansion being planned for the data center in my district that already exists. That's the 73 megawatt Bit Deer data center. Like, they're wanting to expand it by an additional 35 kilowatts or megawatts, I'm sorry. So that's my concern. So I don't have a problem so much of turning it over clean rather than just having them look at the ordinance that I'm proposing. My problem is I don't want anything to happen while we are deliberating over what is the best way to address this. So in that case, if we have this substitute motion to send this to planning clean, then I move for an amendment to this substitute motion that we place a moratorium on the construction of any new facility or expansion of any current facility that would fall under the definition of data center or data center accessory use as as contemplated by the ordinance that I've provided. And the way that that will be enforced is that we tell Engineering and Public Works, issue no permits, no excavation permits, no construction permits. Don't undertake, like if the one is being built right now and they say, okay, come do your codes inspection for, to approve our electrical or whatever, we say, no, there will be no permitting, no inspections, no nothing for any current facility under construction or any future facility until we do have something in place.
I second that motion.
That's my motion, so that, so nothing
There's
comes
already
in under the door.
There's already a substitute motion on the floor.
Oh, yeah, this is a motion to amend that. I'm amending the substitute motion. That's only friendly, I think. Yeah. I encourage Mr. Morris to speak on this issue.
Yeah, the substitute motion is on the floor. It can be amended, so that the amendment is in order.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Would Ms. Aaron, regarding new permits or expansion, are you aware of any expansion of current facilities or any applications or any new data centers looking to do anything?
We have not had any new requests in quite some time. I'll also mention the ones that we have had tend to be smaller. We're talking on the order to close to what Commissioner Fox has proposed, kind of 10 to 25 megawatts or so. In terms of expansions, we really deal with the terms of contract, and so we look at that top contract demand, and then we look at their interruptibility. So those are the two pieces. All the conversations we've had with our data centers continue to reinforce that those contract terms are going to continue to be met. So no one has made any requests to increase their contract or to shift away from an interruptible model. Those would be the two pieces that would change the terms of engagement, so to speak.
Okay. From KUB's perspective as a utility provider, do you see any issues with having a quote-unquote moratorium until this is decided on expansions or new data centers coming online?
Again, knowing that as long as this body would be kind of acknowledging the moratorium is around the land use, the point of saying if you're operating within your existing contract demand would really be the thing that we would look at the most. So if these existing centers are working within the confines of what they've already established with us, I think that would be where we would not want to see a restriction. But again,
as far, I guess what I'm getting is like a significant expansion, like going up to 86 or 90 megawatts for that one.
Yeah, again, I think from a customer standpoint, we always try to accommodate our customers, but if this were changing the terms of that contract, then that would have to go all the way back through our review, and we'd have to be renegotiating infrastructure. So again, those are not those are not fast processes. Those are fairly detailed analyses that happen and would require a lot of review. So again, it's not, to your point, I think you are looking for relatively short order in terms of bringing something back, and the idea of taking a few months to get this right, and in the meantime, not seeing new requests coming onto the system. I don't know that we would, again, these timestamps are just not that consequential for us in terms of months. We don't have anything on the horizon where we've had a request for new additions to the system.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, point of order. I just want to make sure the amendment is clearly stated, because I want to be very clear about what we would be voting on.
If I may, Madam Chair. Well, this is basically part of part of the Fifth Amendment that I planned to make. It's on page 2 of the handout that I provided everybody. And so it's the very last paragraph on page 2. Until Knox County Planning Commission renders a recommendation, and we've had an opportunity to act on the recommendation, Knox County shall place a moratorium on the construction of any new facility or expansion of any current facility that would fall under the definition of data center or data center accessory use. So then we go look at what data center or data center accessory uses under the proposed ordinance. And this would be part of my amendment. And that would state that a building or buildings which are occupied primarily by computers and/or telecommunications and related equipment where digital information is processed, so on and so forth. I mean, you have the definition. So anything more than 10 megawatts of data center would fall under this moratorium. And the way that Knox County would enforce this moratorium would be undertaken by refraining from issuing any excavation permit, construction permit, or refraining from any inspection to be undertaken. So that would just stop any current building or prohibit any future building until we've had an opportunity to act on it. Because what we don't want to happen is that we come out with this, this public attempt to regulate what's going on in our county, and then somebody comes in and slips under the door before we can get the regulation in place. That's what this is to prevent, this amendment. So that's what the amendment would be, and I'm asking your vote for that.
Commissioner Durant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Moyers, while this is being discussed, since we don't technically have a data center zone, and we hear of one applying to build new construction, wouldn't that have to come to planning and then come to us to be approved?
We had this discussion, gosh, when I first came back to this office, because we had one that was going to go in. It's not really clear. There's no definition of these things in the zoning code right now. It's not really clear where one would go. So you could make the argument that they could go anywhere, or you could make the argument they could go nowhere. They're not a First Amendment protected activity, so you can't. You could take the position that they don't belong in any zone. When we draft a zoning code, we can't anticipate every advance in technology and every use that might come up that nobody thought about when the code was being drafted. So I think in the absence, and I haven't looked to see if there's anything at the federal level that would interfere with this, but in the absence of anything, I think this commission could, if it wished, direct that the Engineering and Public Works Department not issue permits for these things until we can figure out where they need to go and what the regulations are and all the rest of it. Because I do think that it would be reasonable, I think it would be within the realm of reason to look at our code and say, I'm sorry. Our code is drafted in such a way where basically the idea is if you have a zoning code, you can't do anything in it except the following things, right? And so if there is nothing that is even analogous to a giant mega data center in there, then we could certainly say there's just no place in the county where one of these can go legally. So on the other hand, you can certainly make the argument that it's analogous to lots of other industrial uses and could go in an industrial zone. We just have never really addressed it. So I think that if the commission wished to issue a moratorium until the planning commission could come back and give us regulations, that would be within the commission's purview, and I think it would be defensible. Because in the absence of that, I'm not really sure what our regulations would say and where they would really be allowed to go. Certainly, it would appear to me, when you look at the other uses on review that we have in the zoning code, this is in the nature of the sort of thing that you would normally expect to be a use on review, right? It's like landfills and other things like that can have a tremendous impact on the community. So not only do we need to have regulations, but it may well be that the Planning Commission will recommend that these things, wherever they're allowed to go, whatever zone they go in, have to be a use on review so that they get an extra level of regulation and inspection before they're allowed to go in.
Okay, thank you. Well, and I understand everything you said, and this is uncharted territory for a lot of, like I said, I know Virginia is literally building the plane while they're flying it when it comes to data centers and their regulations and those kinds of things with it. The problem I have with, if we say we're putting a moratorium on any, and what, let me get the language that you said, just a second. That Knox County place a moratorium on the construction of any new facility or expansion of any current facility of a data center. We don't have a definition of a data center. We're having to start this from scratch, and I realize that there are parts and pieces that are included in the Exhibit A, but if the motion that's on the floor, that in which the amendment pertains to, is adopted, we're removing Exhibit A, but then is the amendment is referencing data centers, but then including a definition of data centers, but some of it has been changed from the Exhibit A to the new piece that we just got this afternoon. So I would, again, I just go back to letting Planning Commission, and by all means, we can send them this information, but allowing Planning Commission to do the research and then even put it in the UDO as they go, when we get to that point, so then it's codified all together. Thank you.
Commissioner Hill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Fox, I totally get exactly where you are in this, and because I wouldn't want it to be happening in my district either. My only concern is there anyone here either from planning or from engineering that can speak to if there's anything that's already been submitted that's been either through use on review or permits that they've already started one part, but they need a permit to finish part two? I'm very reluctant to pull the plug on midstream if somebody has done everything right up to this point, to shut them down halfway through a project. So are we even looking at anything like that?
So we would only see if it would come to the Planning Commission first. We have not received any applications. I've not heard of anything. But if they're going just through engineering to look at permitting first, I'm not sure what the order is, if they go to KUB before engineering or if it's vice versa. I don't know if there's anyone from engineering in here that could speak to their part of that.
Keeping in mind, too, that KUB is not the only game in town.
That's true, yeah.
As much as I appreciate Ms. Gill coming and educating us on that, so do you kind of get where my just concern on that one? It's like I want to know if there's anything pending. Is there, Ms. Benedict?
Hello, Mady Benedict, Knox County. I texted Jim and Steve both, and they're not aware
There's
of
not?
any pending.
Okay, if we can have that reassurance, then I'm with you. So,
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Commissioner Hill, I appreciate you asking that. So the pipeline's clear. There's nothing pending. I do think, for a point of clarification, to clean up Commissioner Fox's amendment, to Commissioner Durrett's point, if we cleaned up the amendment to say that using the state's definition of a data center, if we put a moratorium on an expansion or data center that with a use greater than 10 megawatts until this body has a final decision, that should give the specificity and the clarification that there's nothing in the pipeline, we're not stopping anybody from a current proposal, and we're the ones that are online will stay online, but they can't expand beyond 10 megawatts, and they're already under contract. So if they expanded without KUB and expanding the infrastructure that they would pay for, then that's not going to happen. So we have that puts some safeguards in place that things stay status quo until this body makes a final decision.
Because that is the state, isn't it, 10?
No,
No, 20?
50.
Oh, 50.
The state's
So that-
definition,
that was-
but
That was gonna, that's why I put my button on. So the state's definition is data center means a building that primarily contains electronic equipment used to process, store, and transmit digital information, environmental control equipment necessary to maintain proper operating conditions for such electronic equipment, and is projected to have a peak electric demand of 50 megawatts or more during the first 3 years of operation. And then it goes on with more. However, a data center does not include a facility owned and operated by the state, and et cetera, et cetera. So if what you're looking at is a megawattage evaluation, then the state's definition is 50.
okay. Well, just to align with what this conversation was, I was just going to put it at 10, but with the rest of the definition intact. Just because that's what we were looking at, and that was on it. So, and since there's nothing in the pipeline, kind of no harm, no foul.
You might want to clear that up too.
Which part?
Well, when you say put it in at 10,
Meaning you use the state's definition of a data center, except modify the 50 megawatts to 10 megawatts for our discussion purposes as we send it to planning.
I understand what you're saying now.
As the second to the motion, I would be agreeable to that if the original motion.
Yes, when my term to speak is up, I'll read off a revised proposed amendment.
Commissioner Jackson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to make sure from Ms. Gill and anybody else from Planning Commission or planning staff, what are the unintended consequences of us doing this?
I'll stand only because I maybe could pass the mic to someone. So I think, to be clear with the moratorium, it sounds like you're leaning toward applicability based on changes to the energy use. I think that would be a question. I think to the extent that an entity is not changing their energy use, would it still be subject to the moratorium? Because that's where, again, I don't have visibility into pipeline projects where within an existing footprint, they may be doing things that do require some type of permit from this body or Knox County. But again, if they're not changing their energy requirements, they would not be coming to KUB as a stopgap for that. So again, applicability, I think, would matter for those entities where they are changing something but not increasing their energy use, and how to determine whether they would be impacted by such a moratorium.
So perhaps, Commissioner Fox, when you revise your amendment and finalize it, we carve out and state that this would exclude any current data centers operating within their current KUB and TVA contracts. Would that be accurate?
That would be one way to make sure we're not.
Okay.
Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think by evidence of the last 45 minutes of discussion, this is exactly why I wanted to just send it clean. Because we're amending it in real time based upon information that we may or may not have, based upon data, and we don't have all the players at the table. And nobody knows of anything currently being proposed of any expansion. So this is going to take a matter of months at best. I imagine they could probably come back to us by August or September with a pretty good set of recommendations where we could do it. So this is exactly why I just wanted to send it clean so that we can let them work through this. But if we do this in real time and we restrict the wrong thing, and then KUB or any other provider gets into a legal battle, and it gets muddy, and that's why I wanted to just send it clean. So I'm advocating to just send it clean and let them get to work as fast as possible and get back to us as fast as possible. And if there's nothing in the pipeline, then let's go.
Commissioner Jackson, are you done? Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So As I understand what this resolution looks like now, it would read, now therefore be it resolved by the Commission of Knox County as follows. The Knox County Commission hereby requests that the Knox County Planning Commission consider and make recommendations on certain amendments to the Knox County zoning ordinance to provide for data centers and data center accessory uses. That would be the new first paragraph. Okay. And we would insert a new paragraph. It would be the second to last paragraph that would read as follows. Be it further resolved that until the Knox County Planning Commission renders a recommendation and the Knox County Commission has had an opportunity to act on the recommendation, Knox County shall place a moratorium on the construction of any new facility or expansion of any current facility. Excepting those, expansion of any current facility that would fall under the state's definition of data center, except being no more than 10 megawatts of capacity, and then a comma, then it would say, also accepting any data centers that already have a contract with Knox Utility Board. Then the next sentence would be, this moratorium shall be undertaken by refraining from issuing any excavation permit, construction permit, or refraining from any inspection of construction.
Do you want to go off of the
Except-
recording?
Have to do, yeah, I'll have to, it's just nobody's gonna be able to see it.
No. Yeah, so that's the amendment.
Are you able to get that?
She's
in?
not gonna be able to get all that on there to show. Yeah, that's it.
If I may get Ms. Gill to come to the lectern again. So you're saying that if a future or an expansion would require a new contract with KUB, is that right? For peak usage?
That is correct.
Okay.
I'll also mention, I mean, again, we do not serve the western side of Knox County. There, that'd be an LCUB question.
Oh, okay.
So, but just keep that in mind. But yes, for KUB, any expansion above their existing contracted demand or a new facility of that scale would require a new contract with us.
Because really, how I did the language, that would allow somebody with a current contract to expand, which I don't want to happen. How long does the contract process take?
That is, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe, well, yeah, I was going to say, so again, we are looking at the energy side of, when you say expansion for us, that would mean increasing their load. Again, I don't know what that would mean for footprints or other things. I do think we have one of our customers who could speak to that if you are interested, but I don't know that that would address your particular concern.
This is, what is this, first reading? No, second, what is it? Oh, it's just a resolution.
Okay, here's how I would,
Commissioner Fox,
Yeah.
I mean, since this is a resolution, could we, I don't know if you would be interested in postponing this for 30 days, but I think it would be good for you to have a sit-down with KUB, LCUB, Hallsdale Powell, LCUB, and the Jim Snowden, Steve Elliott, and the, telecommunications group, and find out a little bit more of this information, and then you could restructure this to make it where we all feel a little bit more comfortable. Because at this point now, it's gotten so muddied, I'm really not comfortable with any of it, and it's not an ordinance, it's a resolution. It would give you time to meet with all the players and come back with something that you feel confident in. Would that be something you'd be interested in?
Madam Chair, would it be possible to go ahead and pass the resolution clean so that planning could begin working on it, and then he could come back next month
That's what
with
we were
the,
trying to do.
with the,
Yeah.
he could come back next month, though, with the moratorium.
I mean,
Once he's
if-
had an opportunity to work on the language. That way, we're not slowing down the process.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
I'm
All right.
I'm throwing out thoughts.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So I guess we're going to withdraw the amendment of a moratorium at this time. We'll bring it up next month. We'll pass it clean, get the
so-
process started.
all right, so we're going to go with the substitute motion to remove Section A, and then clean. Commissioner Jay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think that if not all, majority of this commission, Commissioner Fox, if you were to sort of get the schedule and do it in advance, we would all like to attend a workshop to learn from experts about data centers and to dig into this. So I think you're going to get a lot of support for, like, let's all get in the room and learn. So
Yeah.
I
All
wanna
right.
s-
All right, so let's not delay this any further. Mandy?
I was just going to say before we move to the moratorium, we already have a utilities group put together for the UDO for purposes for double poles and meeting with them, and we've met on them one-on-one. And so if that is something that we want to address there, we are more than happy to move it
That'd be fabulous.
with the UDO if you guys want to send it that way.
Yep, that'd be fabulous.
Great.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Durant?
Just a reminder that I am abstaining
Yeah.
due to potential conflict of interest.
We got it. All right, open the voting, please. We're voting on the substitute motion to send this to planning clean with no amendments, no additional language, correct? Commissioner Jay? Okay. All right, you may change your vote and close voting, and that passed 9, and we've got 1 recused and 1 absent. So, all right, great. Next item. Ms. Gill, thank you for being here.
Okay, we're on ordinance O-26-5-101. It's amending the Knox County Code, Chapter 53, Real Property, to add a new Article 2 entitled Housing for the purpose of prohibiting housing market manipulation by large institutional investors, restricting the purchase of single-family houses for rental purposes to certain businesses, entities, establishing enforcement mechanisms, and for other purposes. This amends Knox County Code, Chapter 53, establishing Article 2 previously reserved on first reading.
Do I have a motion to approve? Had a motion on the floor by Commissioner Rawls and a second by Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Rawls, I'm like you on the data center thing. I really like this. The only opposition I have to it is the provision about the affordable housing. And I would like to make a friendly, one of two friendly amendments. Either take that provision out or say that if an entity is receiving subsidies of any type from any government, they're not eligible to fall under that exception. Because what concerns me is that you throw in the affordable housing language, and then you have all these people that are going to be running to get, subsidies from the federal government or state government or whatever, and then that changes their business model and what they can provide, and I just think that tilts the market in a bad way. It provides bad incentives. So, if somebody's out there and they build a better mousetrap and they can build affordable housing like you're talking about without any help from the government, sure, put them in that exception. Or just take the exception out. But I don't think that we should create a new kind of class of rent seeker that's, going to be pursuing government funds to subsidize their building model so that they can then come in under this exception. I think it creates bad incentives. Other than that, I'm all for this. I really like this. And so that's my suggestion to you.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too support this. And I also, as a matter of fact, had that one marked, but not for the reasons that you stated. I feel our goal here is to make more houses available for purchase. And if we carve that out so that people who go out and buy these less expensive homes that need to be fixed up, that somebody could make actually their ownership in and start having equity and build some future, generational wealth, then why would we accept that? Because then that incentivizes people really to become, like, buy the cheaper housing and do that rather than make those houses available for people to buy so that they can start having the American dream. And I think this actually is detrimental to the most vulnerable in our society, the people who have a hard time finding the less expensive homes to purchase, and having and being someone who came from that demographic. I just would like to see people be able to reach the American dream. So I also would request that item A come out. And other than that, I'm very much for this.
Commissioner Jackson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, everybody in the, housing world right now, has experienced the rising cost of housing. And yes, it's true that, in a lot of markets, there has been quite a bit of, institutional purchasing. I don't think that the way this is written, the intent of this, I don't believe that the way this is written accomplishes the intent. I believe the intent of this is to prohibit large corporations, large investment companies from owning greater than 100 houses. The way this is written, if I'll read off of section 5334 prohibition, subsection A. It shall be unlawful for any person, including any affiliate of such person, to purchase more than 100 single-family homes within Knox County if such purposes are made primarily for rental purposes. The problem that I have with that is that the way that is written is it starts with the person and then goes to affiliates under that person. So, in other words, if Commissioner Fox owns 99 homes and you want to buy another one, you would then be in violation of this. If you owned an LLC and you own 99 homes and you wanted to buy one more, you would be in violation. However, Goldman Sachs or Blackstone Group, who might have 10,000 stockholders or more, they would not be subject to this prohibition because there's not one person that is a controlling interest of these large companies. And and it brings up a lot of other issues such as, does this, what about a real estate investment trust or a REIT? What about special purpose vehicles that, various Blackstone groups put together? I think that this has the way this is written, it has the unintended consequence of this is that it impacts the individual mom and pop owner, who's obviously more than just one or two rentals. They've got 100 or so in Knox County, but it's not impacting large corporations. It's not in large investment companies. It does not. I think that, and there's other things in here such as, how do we enforce it? Who enforces it? I think that would be good to workshop this just like we are. I'm not opposed to this. I think it's good that we are, trying to do this. But I do think we need to workshop it to determine, make sure that we are not harming local housing investors, and we're actually narrowly targeting these large corporations that are building up not 100 houses, but maybe thousands.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair, or Madam Sitting Vice Chair. I do like the intent behind this because I've had multiple conversations with the property assessor's office regarding entire subdivisions and developments being purchased for rentals, and so they were intended to be single family sold, but then they turn into rentals, and you have an out-of-state investment company or an individual. But when we start doing the math of a $400,000 home and 100 of them, that's $40 million worth of inventory. That's a lot of money, and even just 50 homes. And so what I see happening, because in where I grew up, we had small builders. We had smaller developers that were doing 5, 10, 20 acres at a time, larger lots, and not the construction pace that we have now. And I see there's similarities between this market or this industry and the ag industry, where you had very profitable, productive, smaller farms, local. I'm not talking about 5, 10 acres. I'm talking about 100, 200 acre farms that were productive and profitable and supported multiple families. And now they're either thousands of acres. When I was a kid, we milked 100 cows, and that was a full-time job, supported 4 families, and we rocked on. But now, if you're a 100 cow dairy and you're not selling the milk yourself, you're out of business. There's a handful of dairies left in Georgia. There's virtually none in Alabama, but the ones that are there are milking 10, 20, 30,000 cows, right? So it's scale. So you either get big or you're out of business. And there were a lot of policy issues that weren't ironed out because nobody looked at the crystal ball and said, oh, this is going to happen. And so what we're seeing now is these large companies are outbidding because they have deeper pockets. They're running with a bigger engine. They're digging with a bigger shovel than what a lot of our local folks who are incredibly talented, gifted. We've got a great workforce, but the ability to compete in investing locally. I had a conversation the other day where the barrier is time, because regulation and permitting and things take a lot of time, but then there's a cost involved as well. Well, if you have somebody out of state who is in that position, they see Knoxville as a great market because they put it all over the U.S. that, hey, move to Knoxville. So they see Knoxville as a great investment. Well, they bring their hundreds of millions or $1 billion and throw at it. We can't compete, and then it's just rental. And my concern, and it seems evident in this draft that if you have these pop up throughout the county, then it doesn't matter where you move to, they're there. And yes, we have 500,000 people in the county. There's thousands of properties, so they may not have a large percentage of the properties in Knox County, of the rentals, but they do set the standard, and so whatever they want their rentals to be, that's where they're going to set it. And all the other neighboring rental properties and rental owners are going to go, oh, well, they're getting that. I'm going to ask that too. And while rental pricing may fluctuate some with the market, if you have a large entity setting the base for their rental pricing, then everyone else is going to follow suit. If I knew that my neighbor was charging, $50 for a product, but I was selling it for $30, but they're selling their product, then I'm going to raise my price to $50 just because I don't want to lose out on the extra $20 that they're getting. So I get the spirit behind this. I agree with Commissioner Jackson that this does need to be workshopped. I think the property assessor's office would like to be in this conversation as well, because obviously these are income producing properties, which would be at a higher tax rate than residential property taxes. They'd be at 40% instead of 25%. So I would like to make a substitute motion to postpone this so that we can incorporate the property assessor's office and some other county entities to really dig in and look at this.
How long?
Yeah, let's do 60 days. And then we'll, if Commissioner Rawls is amenable to it, I think we should host at least one workshop to look at this and get the wording correct.
I've got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Thompson, a second by Commissioner Jay. No further discussion.
I did.
Yes, Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I would have done the same, and Commissioner Rawls, I think everybody sort of feels your intent, but I couldn't find any data that supported that this is actually happening anywhere near us right now. And if that's different, then I'm willing to learn, but we didn't really have that discussion last week. And I think I have heard from at least one of our local neighbors who is a very prolific renter and has fixed up well over 100 houses and rents them out and at a very affordable rate, that this would, essentially put a moratorium on its business, and he's the one that we want to use as an example. I just think it needs more time to bake it right and to bring people to the table, and I hope you'll invite the property assessor, I hope you'll invite the East Tennessee Realtors, I hope you'll invite, commissioners and the public, maybe some of the entities that are renting, and I think you're going to have a lot of support if we bake the recipe correctly going forward. So,
Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did want to point out that when you were reading that and it says it's unlawful for any person, he has defined a person up at the beginning, where he defines it as a business entity, including but not limited to a corporation, limited liability company, partnership, limited partnership, real estate investment trust, hedge fund, private equity fund, or any other association of persons associated for business purposes. A person does not include a natural individual acting in their own name. So he did specifically address it to, you had to read the whole thing as almost in a contract form, where you read the definitions and then you look at the wording to make sure that you're getting the right, the correct understanding. But he did address that, and he is addressing it to corporations, not to individuals.
Commissioner Rawls.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just say this I hear everything that everyone has said, and I know this isn't fully cooked, Commissioner Jay, and so I welcome the feedback, and we'll go to the table over the next 60 days, and I think I think the register of deeds, speak to them in their process, because there will capture who's actually registering these pieces, these plots of land, or these houses that are already. And so the spirit is not to kill, like, I don't want to use his name, but the gentleman who sent us an email. And I spoke with him about his business and how this affects his business. And so I want to protect guys like that. So I do want to get the language right. I want to protect our homegrown folks, and maybe we can do something like a domicile entity where we know that that person is from this area. And if they're from this area and they rent houses and they, are above maybe I raise the limit on those guys, we can work it out, and also put some exemptions in for build to rent folks. But the whole purpose is so that a problem doesn't come in the future. Because when you say to the world, hey, Knoxville's a great place to invest, to live. Well, if it's a great place to live, it's a great place to invest. And so there are eyeballs on Knoxville and Knox County. And that's why we have data centers here. That's why we're seeing a lot of things happen in this community that hasn't happened before. So I think I just want to help put some guardrails on this train as we end up having, massive growth over the next few years. So, and this will be a piece of it. And I'm not saying that large investors are the number one cause of home prices. No, that's a large equation. That's a large equation. That's today's market, baby boomers, a lot of things. So, but the spirit of this is to protect our folks who, from BlackRock not BlackRock, but, a large hedge fund coming in and saying, ooh, I want that subdivision right there, and we're going to take it and we'll hold it too until the price gets right or the market changes or whatever. Or we're just going to flat out raise the rents to some crazy amount. And I think we all know, I don't know, I talked to some friends and they've got their kids living in their house because they can't get out. And it's because they can't find a place to rent, right? And so that's what this is for. And so we'll start having some meetings here coming. So thanks, guys.
All right, we have a substitute motion on the floor to defer for 60 days. Voting is open. 60 days? What did I say? You did. Oh, okay. You can change your voting now. Close voting. And that passed 10-0. Next item, please.
Ordinance O-26-4-101 is amending the Knox County Code, Chapter 2, Article 8, Division 4, regarding receipt and disbursement of county funds and budget procedures for defined services contract, established in Section 2-558, previously reserved. This is on second reading.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? A motion on the floor by Commissioner Russell, second by Commissioner Lee. Discussion? Seeing Commissioner Grant.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know last month I asked if we would consider changing the $50,000 trigger to $100,000. And earlier today, I just wanted to point out that when we were discussing the track with the sheriff's office, that $150,000 was mentioned as not a lot of money being spent. And so with this, we want nonprofits to have an audit at $50,000 when we just earlier this meeting said $150,000 was not a lot of money, instead of the $1 million like the state requires. So I'm just still not comfortable in voting in favor of this, because I do feel I realize that it only will affect 2 that we have currently, but I don't want to prohibit others from potentially getting some funding that could help bolster programming. Thank you.
Commissioner Russell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, when I made that statement, I said it wasn't significant meaning in regards to the whole 3.5. A significant amount has not been spent compared to the 3.5 that will be spent. So, I mean, to be honest, when we're talking about taxpayers' money, I feel like any amount that we waste is too much. And I was actually, so I respectfully, I do very, very respectfully decline, just because I feel like I wish it were lower, not higher. So, but thank you so much for working with me on it.
All right, voting is open. Change your vote. Voting is closed, and that failed to receive a majority. 5 yeses, 3 noes, Rawls, Durrett, and Jackson. 2 abstentions, Oster and Hill. Yeah, it failed.
It's dead. Whole thing's out over basically $50,000.
Next item.
The next item is ordinance O-26-4-102, amending the Knox County Code, Chapter 58, Article 3, Section 58-92, regarding disbursement of county funds levied through the hotel occupancy tax. This amends ordinance O-91-11-101, adopted January 27th, 1992, and ordinance O-02-6-102, adopted July 22nd, 2002. This is on second reading.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? Got a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fox, second by Commissioner Lee. Any discussion? Seeing none, open voting. You may change your vote. Voting's closed, and that's failed. 5 yeses, 3 noes, 2 abstentions. Next item.
Ordinance O-26-4-103 is creating Section 2-885 of Article 11 of Chapter 2 of the Knox County Code, entitled Recognition of Right to Self-Defense on Knox County-Owned Property, establishing Section 2-885 of the Knox County Code, previously reserved. This is on second reading.
Have a motion to approve. Motion approved by Fox, second by Thompson. Any discussion? Seeing none, open voting. You may change your vote. Voting is closed. And that failed to receive a majority. 5 yeses, 4 noes, 1 abstention. And next item.
Next item was deferred, so we're at public forum, open topics.
All right. The first person to sign up is Grant Hoskins. And next one is Ms. Shipe. She stayed here this long. Yeah. Ms. Shipe, you know the routine. If you'll give your name and county residence, and you got 3 minutes. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Vivian Shipe, Knox County. Last week was a week of atrocious acts in Tennessee. Act 1, remove the voices of a whole race in Memphis. Act 2, remove the voices of representation across Nashville. And Act 3 occurred right here in Knoxville, when a small select group of people removed the voice of truth from the libraries of Knox County. The action taken by the review committee to remove the book Roots must be reversed. There is a statue of Alex Haley, the author, right down the street from this building. The man won a Pulitzer Prize, and people come from all over the world to see a statue that sits in the heart of where a thriving Black community once existed before over 2,000 voices were silenced by urban removal. Can you imagine what the world must be thinking about a city that bans the very book that is read all over the world? Now, we are here because we want specific action from you. There is an old saying, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. Well, there's another saying, the hand that writes the check gets to make some demands. We're asking that before you hand the school board over $700 million for next year's budget, request that the banning of the book be reversed. America is not a squeaky clean country, nor should it try to whitewash the truth. The country is preparing for a 250-year celebration. Slavery did happen, and taking this book out of the school system will not change that fact. Now, we are a small country. There are countries thousands of years old who do not hide their history of violence. It is part of the evolution of who they are. Trying to hide the truth under pretense of the book holding scenes of violence and rape means we should remove the Bible from the eyes of our future generations because of the many wars and the story of the rape of Tamar that are depicted in those pages. The decision to remove that book because of it being determined as not age appropriate does not take into the fact that a child can pick up their cell phone, make a few swipes, or speak a request, and see things much more atrocious than the truths about the transcontinental slave trade and the stories of what was done to the men and women and children who were brought here against their will to build a country that had already been settled by indigenous people thousands of years before 1776. You write the checks for the school board. This community is not happy with this decision. We're here to let you know. We want you to go and tell them this is non-negotiable. Before they get that check, put the book back on the shelves immediately.
Thank you, Ms. Shipe. Next item, please.
Other business, proclamation for Peripheral Neuropathy Awareness Week.
Commissioner Lee?
Do you want me to go up and read it like the resolution?
You can do whatever you want to do. Okay. I don't care. Okay. If you want to stand up, you're welcome to.
Okay, I make a motion that we approve this proclamation for the periphery.
We don't vote on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
on a proclamation,
I'm
so
just
you're
asking.
good. Nope, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Jay?
Are we on to other business? Yeah.
Yes. Commissioner Lee, did you want to read the proclamation? We just don't have to vote on it. Okay. Let her do that first, Commissioner Jay, and then we'll go to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Be it known that the Knox County, whereas held nationally the first full week of May since 2022, Peripheral Neuropathy Awareness Week aims to educate people on the prevalence and symptoms of the condition. And whereas there are no cures and limited treatments for the life-altering symptoms of peripheral neuropathy, which can affect mobility, how do you say that word? Autoimmune and sensory or motor functions. I'm getting tongue-tied here. Whereas peripheral neuropathy has over 100 known causes, and whereas peripheral neuropathy is an invisible and often overlooked and misdiagnosed medical condition affecting approximately 30 million people in the United States alone. And whereas to honor Peripheral Neuropathy Awareness Week, we support illuminating buildings, bridges, and landmarks in purple in honor of peripheral neuropathy awareness. And therefore, I, Rhonda Lee, County Commissioner for Knox County, do hereby recognize and bring awareness to the seriousness of peripheral neuropathy and hereby proclaim May 3rd through the 9th, 2026, as Peripheral Neuropathy Week in Knox County.
Thank you. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under other business, I just would like to publicly notice that in June, I plan to place on the agenda a motion to amend the wheel tax repeal deferral from August to propose moving it to the July agenda. I'll bring that in June.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, well, Mr. Huber showed up. I thought he wanted to speak earlier on a commission on the agenda, on a item on the agenda, but I guess he left. So I was just going to bring his presence to everyone's attention, but he's gone.
Thank you. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to point out that the Gibbs baseball team is currently in Murfreesboro playing for the state tournament, and I told school board member Wright that I did not want to see him at Carter or Hall's graduation Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay.
He was perfectly excused, and I did not want to see him at either of those two events.
Maybe
He
that
should stay in Murfreesboro.
Maybe that new turf fields sparked the winning.
Whatever it took. Yep.
Yeah, whatever
that works
it
for me.
Yeah. Commissioner Jay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, I just wanted to invite you to join us on Saturday, May 30th, and all those listening from the public for the 8th annual Beaver Creek Flotilla. You can go to floatthebeaver.com and get more details. Even if you do not own a watercraft, you can rent one and we can get one for you. It is a wonderful day where nearly 500 people will launch in some sort of floatable craft, starting at Powell High School and end up down at Roy Arthur Park, and shuttles are available. It is just a simple $10 registration fee, but you get a cool shirt and you get to help contribute to the cleanup of Beaver Creek. So please come join us at the Beaver Creek Flotilla, the 8th annual, floatthebeaver.com for more information. Thank you.
Awesome, that's so fun. Okay, first we need to say happy belated birthday to Haley. Her birthday was last week, so happy birthday.
We love you.
Yes, I forgot to do that last week, so I do apologize for that. I don't think I have anything else, but I do have a saying to leave you with. If you feel like you're losing everything, remember that trees lose their leaves every year, and still they stand tall and wait for better days to come. So there you go. If you will take your your card and your battery to Drew, please, so she doesn't have to wait around. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
A motion on the floor? Second? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Have a good evening. Drive safe.